On today, we have technical animators. That thing that actually is a mystery for most people in the games industry or otherwise. And we are joined by three legends of their own accord, Amaresh, Brad, and Emilio. And it's really good to have them here. As always, these are like people that are incredibly busy. They have a bunch of stuff to do. So spending 3 hours here talking to me is incredibly appreciated. And we are going to be, for the most part, just talking about tech animation. Send us out your questions about what is, how does it work? Anybody that wants to be a tech animator, definitely send questions in the chat. For anybody joining us from LinkedIn, know that your questions don't pop up here where I see my questions popping up. So feel free to join us on YouTube if you want to ask questions and interact with us. And we'll chat a bit, and then we'll actually start answering some questions here as we go. Chromosome is here. He's already saying like tech animals are the goats. I agree. I agree. It's highly, highly underrated. I want to actually go through and just get you guys all like, you guys to present yourselves and talk a little bit about your careers, maybe at a high level. So
Sure.
on top of me is Brad. So I start with Brad. And Brad, maybe you can talk a little bit about yourself, your career, how long you've been around, some of the things that you've done.
Yeah. So I got started, I think, well, I don't know. Most animators I know that ended up in tech art wanted to be animators or started to be animators, and then, someone found out that you were technical. And
That's
then
true.
that was pretty much the last time you animated. So that was, I went to school in Florida at Full Sail when I was 18 and started to go for film and walked into a lab full of computers and had always loved animation and realized that this definitely was where my heart was, and it looked accessible and I could start moving things and not having to draw 1,000 frames by hand. So that started it, and then not long after that I became the default person to answer questions and help people understand the tutorials we were supposed to do, and got the rigs to work, and everyone else was struggling, and that kind of never stopped. So
Mm.
something years later,
Something, something.
more than 25 years later,
Yeah.
I've continued to just kind of be that role at every project and job I've ever done. Is It's a mix of training and education and working on software development, and then trying to fit in animation and actual production work around all that. So at one point I was on, I moved to Austin in 2000 at Acclaim Studios, where I kind of got thrown into a learning motion capture and repairing at old SGIs and learning game development with custom engines for PlayStation 2 that didn't exist yet, and just all of the stuff. And that was a really, really rough go, just because game industry then was millions of hours of overtime
Yeah.
and just a lot of work. But it was pivotal because it got me introduced to Motion Builder and to a lot of different projects and people that led me to uh, go work at Weta. And so that was an amazing experience. It was very short, and I chose family life over production and chasing, moving to studio, and started Rigging Dojo. Wrote a book or two, and just continued to do training. And in the last year and a half, I've been working with the Ozone 3D team on new rigging technology, and bringing subdivision surfaces to real time and to Unreal, and starting all the learning over again with Unreal Control Rig and all that stuff. So, just basically nothing's changed in that time since the first tutorial in the first lab, wanting to animate, and then ended up rigging, and then just repeat that until forever, I think, because it's
Forever.
you
That's
know, you
amazing.
you want control over your tools, and then the tools, you're like, oh, I can make this better, and then it never stops. So,
That's it. That's it.
you
And you
know.
have animators nagging you for more stuff and more stuff.
Yes, yeah, and you're like, oh, I want to animate today, and then you're like, I'm not happy with this rig, and so
Yeah.
you just switch back and forth.
Amazing.
But
So,
that's the short of it. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. No, no, thanks a lot, Brad. Appreciate it. I have a lot of questions already for
Yeah,
you.
good.
Um, We'll move on to Amaresh. Amaresh, if you can give us a lowdown of what you've been doing, what have you done, and please introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for inviting me here. I'm happy to be amongst you guys, and I look like a new kid on the block when it's like the three of. So, I mean, not talking about the age, but yeah, that's obviously a factor. Just saying. So yeah, just a quick intro on my end is as Brad said, anybody in tech anime or tech art usually will say that they loved animation, and it's usually the Disney films that get you that adrenaline rush that oh, animation looks so cool,
Mm,
and who's doing all that, and that you get then you get curious, and then that's how I got curious about these things, and then you come across like animes like Dragon Ball Z and different cartoons. And I mean, those days were super good when you talk about Cartoon Network.
mhm.
So that got me excited, and I didn't know like how do I get into animation, and how do I become an animator, because I wanted to be that. That's when I started with Flash, doing drawings and such, and I quickly realized that I suck at it. So that's when I thought like, okay, I need to find something smart and still be able to do this. So back in India, you parents usually prioritize like you becoming an engineer, doctor. Nobody like game development is not even a thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up doing electronics engineering, which is totally unrelated to what I do. And during my engineering days, I used that time wisely. So I started learning After Effects,
Yeah.
and I used to like animate puppets in there, and that's like how I continued my love for animation.
Wow.
And when I started my career, I started as a mobile app developer for some reason. I still don't know why.
Okay.
And that's how I realized quickly that you can do so much with code, and you can automate things, and you don't necessarily have to do everything by hand the traditional way.
Yeah.
So my and then I started. I joined a game dev studio, super indie.
Yeah.
So when you join an indie studio, you pretty much have to do everything on your own, and you have to learn as you go. And that's what I did. So I started learning a bunch of blueprint scripting and a lot of coding as well using C++. And I quickly realized that, hey, I can mix these two. And as I went ahead in my career, I realized that tech animation is a thing where you can do animation but with code,
Yeah.
and you can help animators make better animations through your rigs, scripts, or implementations. So yeah, I mean, I've worked for the initial 7 to 8 years of my career in indie dev in India, where game development was not even a thing, and I had to explain to people like, okay, this is what Steam is, and that's how you install Steam, and
So it was at that level.
you like get where I'm coming from. And I did not do an official course or such, so it was just YouTube, LinkedIn, connecting to different people, learning from their experiences, all the free videos on GDC Vault,
Yeah.
because a subscription is super expensive.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to learn. I started learning, and also like going frame by frame on different implementation stuff in gameplay videos
Yeah.
that teaches you a lot, like how the transition happens. And that got me interested into implementing gameplay stuff more and more. And when I moved to UK, thanks to my wife, that's when I joined Funcom. And I recently been was a lead tech anim there for Dune Awakening.
Mhm.
Then I moved and joined Barb. That didn't work out so well because of million reasons, but
Yeah.
that's when I ended up at the best thing possible, which is Rekindle, and got the chance to work with you again. And
That's it.
yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Amazing.
Plan.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely a young legend. Amaresh does a lot of amazing work. We'll go into that in just a bit. And Emilio, definitely last but definitely not least.
Do I need to unmute it?
Oh, there you go.
How
There you
long
go.
do we have? Because I've been here for, in this industry forever.
I know.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. See, he's even going back to actually. Oh,
this thing, right?
is that a Spectrum?
It's a spectrum.
Oh
So,
man,
so this
classic.
is this is for me when I started in 85,
85.
1985. and I was 11 years old. We got this as a birthday present, and we fell in love. My brother was 2 years younger, and you know, one of those things you dreams about, making games and things like that back in the day. So we started doing things, and I was really good at drawing at that point, like as a child. My brother was not really good at drawing at all, so ended up just being a programmer as it is right now. And so that's where I think all the spark started. And we managed just to do a game for the Spectrum in 1991.
No. You and your
Yeah,
brother?
yeah, me and my brother. And
That's incredible.
there was not really published because at that point, the Spectrum, the 8 bits died, and but we got publishers already at that point, and then they look at each other and say, see, you guys, carry on doing stuff because you're awesome, and so we did. And later on in '94, we're starting just to have my first job as a professional. Back in the day in '94, it was no 3D or anything like that. So everything was pixel art, animating, mostly animating back in the day. But mostly as an artist, everything was 2D and things like that. And then all of a sudden, everything started just to it blew up into this 3D, the graphic cards and everything like that. So at that point, I was already working as an artist in computer graphics and everything like that. But I had to cope up with everything in 3D, learning back in the day. Remember, no internet or anything like that, no tutorials, no manuals, no nothing. Pretty much all the software was pirate, and so you had to reinvent yourself. So and a little bit of kind of strange mix. I think that as well maybe Harvey thought that could be beneficial because I'm not really a technical guy like like a programming, a scripting as such.
Yeah.
I do my things, but what I'm doing in my daily days is just animation. But I got these, you know, thousand millions of years since 1994 when I started just to do everything on my own. You had to do everything your own, including modeling and UVs and then rigging and then implementation in games and things like that. So everything is just, I've been just a multitask, a generalist. And at some point, obviously that is actually, complementing my skills and everything like that. At some point in life as well, is just taking you to different kind of paths or whatever. And
Studio.
then eventually, that technical side of me, it got me a job, pretty much. Because as well, I can animate, I can mix all these kind of technical abilities I have and just be useful for everything else. And so during Lionhead back in the day, after many things, I moved to UK from Spain in 2005, working and getting more ambition about what I do in life and things like that. So I managed just to be in big studios here in UK, Lionhead Studios, and because of my technical side, I managed just to get proper job in Fable doing Fables for maybe 10 years or something like that. And I just focus pretty much on technical animation.
Yeah.
And I found it like I really love it.
Yeah.
Really love it just to be involved in more, in everything that's animation because that's what it drives me. Animation, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's keyframes or mocap, it's just, for many years I've been just really focusing on environmental animations in props and things and physics and whatever that moves this is here, and the man. So, there's in that regard, I'm not a rock star, and nothing like that. I'm really
you are.
happy animating whatever it is, even, something that dangles there, that sign over there,
Yeah.
whatever it needs to be animated, that's the guy. So, after, my thing is about animation, but combining with the technical animation, and even now, especially right now, that's what, everything is just kind of growing crazy with Unreal and all the stuff. Adding all these things, the more we understand animators about technical animation, the more you can really get out of that for you as an animator. And so for me, being an animator, doing rigging in this case, or doing some kind of technical animation, it just I can really get the most out of it, and then I can really help others as well. That's why I started just to do all these pre-rigs and stuff like that, just to try and just to motivate people that even I'm not a technical guy, I'm not a programmer, I have my kind of art side and animation side, but you can really do it, right? And you can really be a technical guy and an animation guy, and just combine everything together, and just get the access to everybody just to do that technical thing that could be sometimes intimidating by many people.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, just just that's a little bit of myself. I've been here forever, still
Amazing.
enjoying every single minute, and
It's great.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I always enjoyed about you, Emilio, by the way, I was just telling Amaresh and Brad as well behind the scenes, but working with Emilio is so fun. I worked with Emilio for a few years in that Lionhead, and he's so fun. He's so funny as well. But the most important thing that Emilio has, and you can definitely tell the Spanish in him, he has la pasión all the time. Every day he's like passionate.
Yeah, I think when Harvin is meant to say it's just unrude and loud.
Not, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. No, Emilio's it's actually so super fun, and he's actually he will tell you when things are great. He'll tell you when things are not possible as well. So he's very transparent as well, and he's really cool. And I'd love to know in the comments for all of you in the comments, and thanks for all the questions because they're coming in fast. I appreciate all the questions, but let me know in the comments if you guys have used any of Brad's rigs or Emilio's rigs, because I'm pretty sure like between Brad and Emilio, there must be about 1,000 different animators that have probably got jobs in the industry thanks to you guys with your rigs.
I know there's a lot of downloads. I'm not really how many people that are actually using them.
Yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
a few
So
people download it, maybe check it out and close it down.
yeah, there must be a thousand people out there at least that can thank you guys for their careers because if without your rigs, it wouldn't be possible. So yeah, it's really cool. So okay, so I'm gonna turn it back to the actual tech animation because I think we need to define tech animation and like, I don't want to like define it on my words. I want to define it, you guys define it for me if you don't mind. But maybe we can go with, I'll ask this first question because there's so many questions coming through. I think we need to move on to the questions like yesterday. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of time. But for you, Brad, what is tech animation?
Yeah, well, I think originally it was just anything that wasn't art, right? Like it was just game development, and they didn't have film had rigging jobs and animation jobs separated, and early game development was just,
Mm.
well, early game development for me meant that animators were rigging things themselves and animating and sometimes putting it in the game and sometimes working with a designer, but usually just angering the engine team because everything was rigged with no standards and nothing was the same, and people just did whatever they wanted and exported and went, here you go, good luck. So I think that old school tech anim was just pure game development. Like that was just everyone did something, and the more you wanted to animate, if you needed the rig to do something, you just figured it out, or maybe you'd find a tutorial. Maybe you were on 3D Pro mailing lists, a million years ago, and you'd see someone share something interesting and reach out to them, and then it actually became a specialized job that was important, right? Tech anim for a bigger team meant implementing the animation tree libraries and the interactions and working with game design. So I always ended up kind of sitting between the two, where building the rigs and making sure that the export system was consistent with the engineers, and
Yeah.
working with modeling to get meshes that would be easier to rig. And you end up just kind of sitting at the nexus of everybody's stuff. And like I think current tech anim is still some of that, but it's gets split into pipeline, into rigging and tooling, and everything gets separated out. How character behavior, character physics, cloths, like everything is now kind of tech anim, but it means 14 different things and
14
different
different
tech
things.
levels. Yeah, it's more and more specialized the bigger the project. And for indie, it means back to old school. You're just making games.
Whatever is needed.
It's just game development. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So for you, Amaresh, what is tech anim?
I mean, it's kind of a difficult question to sum it up in a short answer. But for me, what Brad said, it's totally true. Initially, tech anim was that you just rig stuff and you deal with, like, you provide support to animation and character, and then you try to get things into the engine as
Mhm.
quickly as possible, and as trying to maintain the sanity of the pipeline basically.
Mhm.
So that was your job. But with the implementation side of things, when I became a tech animator, I'm mostly a gameplay tech animator. So I'm right now animators and artists, they are basically doing the support role for me when I'm on that side of the spectrum. When I go to the rigging side, the role changes and I have to do the support. So you basically have to adapt a lot. And tech anim is mostly about adapting and molding yourself to what you're doing currently in the pipeline and becoming very flexible. So just make sure that you become that guiding star, uh, and the pipeline goes through smoothly
Mhm.
and you get the desired output as you initially desired for. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Great answers. And for you, Emilio, what is tech animation?
It's a good question as well. And for me, it's a bridge. It's the bridge between everything that happens in art and design and concept and animation and engine and implementation and programming and everything. So it's right in the middle for me. When I found out that I really love to be there, even
Mhm.
though I was, at some point I was got the kind of imposter syndrome, right? What am I doing here? But just being in the middle of everything, in those meetings where you actually, you got the concept artists just doing some stuff, the design, everything, the modelers, and you are right there, and you need just to decide things. And for me, with that kind of thing, that bridge in between all the departments that eventually goes through me as a technical animator in terms of mostly about solving
Mhm.
how it's going to be animated, how to bring the model, the formations and everything to the maximum level,
Mhm.
how to cope, with or comply with the design and the concept and everything like that, and manage just to do that and just put it into the game and give everything as good as possible for the implementation for the game side. And everything that goes around physics and whatever the character or the prop or any of the asset needs, just to finish it off. And if something happens,
Yeah,
that debugging thing, that find the
debugging for
problem,
sure. Yeah.
solve the problem, go back to my cave and just do something, improve it somehow, or always that kind of time just to go around and just I can really
Fix
do
it,
polishing here, this,
polish it.
whatever. So that kind of bridge in between many departments and. That was actually, that's actually what defined this for me. And obviously, it's just tools. It's just helping somehow in something that's as important as it is at the end. I think there's a lot of focus in right now. Just we're using Unreal for our games and things like that.
Mhm.
Everything is focused too much in the static stuff. So you got Lumen and all the nanites and everything, and now we got millions of polygons in foliage,
Mhm.
right? But when it comes to animation, it's just, it's still right there. It's growing a lot. They look after it a little more than ever. But, when I was in this kind of position, even now, and what I am doing now, I'm just trying just to care too much. And, what I can do is just to bring the most out of all those departments, right?
Right.
Working with modelers just to be able just to get small deformations, better shapes, and then working with the animators, providing things that can really animate better, bring better shape, better animations, more
Yeah.
fluidity, and everything that they need, and eventually put everything in the game, optimizing and just getting everything ready
Optimize.
for
Yeah.
execution. So, for me, that I'm
Speak.
not a real time guy, right? I'm not really never in my life I'm just able just to get myself out of the real time thing, just to be even if I'm going in my personal things, it needs to run 30 frames per second, right? At least.
That's
So
it.
that for me is a bridge. It's a some kind of really such an important role what you guys are doing. The real technical animators with the tools and everything that you can really create, just to facilitate that big task as animation in runtime. So
Amazing answers.
like that.
Exactly. And I think that actually just like we had three really similar answers, but also like, expanding answers and slightly different. And I think that actually exemplifies exactly what a tech animation is and why it's confusing to a lot of people because it involves so much. And one of the questions that I had for you guys before we go into the Q&A on with the chat is very much that what do you think? And we're going to go in reverse order now, but you guys have to deal with animation nagging you for more buttons and more pipelines and more tools and more plugins and things like that. And then you have the art department nagging you for, better deformation. Can we add more things? Can we add more cloth? Like Emilio, we had capes in Fable, we had like feathers, we had like bows and arrows and nymphs and fairies. It was so many things, right? And basically every time you see that coming, it must be very much like a nightmare coming your way because you need to solve issues. And then you have the implementation in game, you have the rigging, the skeletal mesh, and like the logic and stuff. So would you say that being a tech animator is very much like being an entrepreneur in a company where you have to actually have a bunch of different things, a bunch of different like, know-how and also like knowledge and passions in different ways? And how do you deal with everybody wanting something from you, and on top of that you have to fix things that are broken because there's things being broken everywhere? So how do you keep sane even though you have to do so many things? So we'll go with Emilia first to for this answer.
I think the key thing about this, I think, what it moves me, Amaresh and Brad here, or anyone, is just passion. It's just we really love what we do, and
Mhm.
when we're doing crazy things, the more the merrier. I'm the one just getting into trouble myself because I want to do more. I want to do this again, and I never get enough.
Mhm.
Never get enough. It's challenging, whatever. Just at the end, we're serving as a technical animator. We're serving mostly animation, but there's a lot of really departments that you have to really respect and just treat as best as you can. And so eventually, the final goal is always the game.
Mhm.
But you're there, you're pivotal element, with so many departments, and I really find myself even the simplest of the task, whatever, it's just it's something that really moves me and motivates me just to, because every single part of what you do as a technical animator that's going to go through, it comes from whatever, and it goes all the pipeline, all the departments until it comes to you. You're doing your part as small as it could be. It
Mhm.
goes into the game, and that's actually at the end of the day, you just get it there and get it done as simple as it could be. It's just one step closer to the final goal. Is actually finishing off the game,
Mhm.
and so it doesn't really matter if it's small, it's as big, it's a huge character, or some kind of demolitions or rigging or anything like that. Is actually something that you really so passionate about that it doesn't really matter, right? Solving
Amazing.
problems, everything is broken. The rig is going to be broken 1,000 million times. Most of the times it's user errors anyway, because we're awesome here, right?
Yeah,
But all those things, it's what really drives you in a way that
absolutely.
I think is essential in game
Absolutely.
development, just to love what you do.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter about how old you are and how young you are or whatever. Just always being, challenge to yourself, and just technical animators, we are here to serve. I
Amazing.
think I'm just really want animation just to be better. If I can do the best for
Yeah.
it, I'm gonna try to do it. So there's and always just challenge yourself. The software is always changing. More and more software, more stuff. It's never ending, and that's the key, right? Just always reinventing yourself, and caring,
That's it.
caring about it.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. Brad just mentioned who says we are saying. I cannot wait to get to you, Brad. So I remember the amount of times that Luismi, that should be mentioned here, that used to be our lead at Lionhead. The amount of times that we used to talk about Emilio, and we're like, today is the day that Emilio flips the table. I'm pretty sure.
You can tell, there's so
Today's gonna
many
be the
times
day.
it's so frustrating, right? The game development is just is going through so many things, and
That's it.
daily is it's a roller coaster. It can really
Exactly.
go up and down, but that never, I remember just to be really upset, or, and then when I go to the guy that's actually broke something, whatever, and so happy, and because at the end of the day, everybody makes mistakes and whatever, and helping each other is the key of teamwork and getting games out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just it's
So
always fun
cool.
anyway.
What about you, Amaresh? How do you keep yourself sane amongst all this trouble? And we worked in Funcom together, and there was a lot
You
of
know
like,
best.
there was a roller coaster. So
Yeah, there were a lot of moments where I wanted to flip the table as well, but I didn't. Thanks to that. And yeah, what Emilio said should be the slogan of TechAnim, that we are here to serve, and that's about it.
right.
So I think more than an entrepreneur, I mean, you can say that TechAnim is more like an entrepreneur, but I see TechAnim more like a firefighter. So there's a
Mm,
fire, you
yes.
just like people call you and you should be there to put it off,
Mm,
and that's your job. So it doesn't matter whether it's in the animation blueprint, whether it's in the rig, whether it's in the tool that you made, or whether something else broke that is totally unrelated. And most of the time it gets confused with tech art. So there's like a lot of overlap between tech art, tech anim, and there's not like a line that you can draw that, hey, this is where tech art stops and
mhm.
tech anim begins, because there's like one and the same thing in some
Yeah.
studios and very different things in some other studios. Totally depends on how many people do you have in that team, and what sort of pipelines or like responsibilities have been assigned to those people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say just to keep yourself sane, just be very flexible and be very humble and be very accepting,
Mm,
because most of the times you'll be getting a lot of feedback, and that's usually coming from, it can come from any direction. So it can be from animation, it can be from the coders saying that, hey, the animation blueprint setup that you did is not at all optimized, or why did you use that node instead of that node, and so just be very humble and talk to them in a way that, hey, this is a good feedback, I can like act on it,
mhm.
and this is how I think we are going to fix this problem that we are facing. And
Yeah,
I think you just have to be like super humble and accepting. That's about being a good tech animator and keeping
exactly.
yourself sane.
Yeah, I feel like humility is something that we've been mentioned since Monday about humility, and the humility and career longevity kind of like overlap quite a lot. A lot of the people that have the longest journeys. I mean, Emilio's been here longer than all of us. Brad has been here for a very long time, longer than me, and I definitely been like here definitely longer than Amarash. But yet everybody's humble enough to know like, I'm just doing a few things, and it's even difficult to talk about yourself. So I could tell in the introductions as well, because you kind of go, I've done some things, and that's it. But I think that's essential in game development in order for you to kind of like have that longevity, and it's really good to hear it here as well. So, Brad, how do you keep yourself sane amongst all this crazy stuff? And on top of that, Brad has books out as well. He runs his own company, Raging Dojo. So it's a lot.
Yeah, and full time with Ozone for almost a year and a half now. So that's been like another shift in my learning experience and goals and I mean, I think the staying sane part is that having a life outside of work, but you don't really leave it, right? Like, you think
Mm.
about it. I think being humble, I don't know what that means. Just kidding. I think just having the people skills to work with and understand each department's wants for a project,
Mm.
and honestly, sometimes the customer is wrong, and knowing what that means in a way to communicate it so that adding one more feature to the rig is maybe not a big deal to one animator, but if it has 4 years of assets that are going to break because of it, then and they're not aware of it, like
Yeah.
firefighting is a good example, but they're also there to prevent the fire in the first place and
Mhm.
educate people on that process. So making sure that you contribute to the overall understanding of the requirements of the project is one thing that kind of communication early and staying involved in each department's wants.
Yeah.
Years and years ago in the early days, like the audio department would have to like make fake files to hoard disk space because animation would fill it up or effects would fill it up, right? So you have to know like what each section and what's important to those people in the different departments, right? And so modeling and sets and all that stuff, tech art and tech anim do work together, but anim in a lot of companies early on, like I said, game development is just all the things. So I think staying sane early on was you were passionate and everyone was like, well, that's enough, and it's not. And
Right.
I think the being compassionate towards yourself and knowing that you have more to learn and that that you're there to serve both the getting the project done and not always making demo reel material perfect work, but make work that gets the project shipped so that you all can have another project is an important balancing point. And I think
Absolutely.
early on you're afraid to mention things, or you think, I don't want to speak up or be a greasy, I don't want to be a squeaky wheel. And sometimes I know personally when I was younger and starting in the industry, I didn't have the tact to always do it the best way, right? And you end up in disagreements with lead programmers, and you're like, well, I don't know what the problem is. Like, can't we just fix this thing? And you learn that there's just not time, or there's not a tool, or if you bring up the problem to be fixed and you don't have a solution or an idea, and you just complain about the problem, then you probably aren't going to be in tech art.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But that I think the joking aside, I think the more that you can have a balanced view of the project and yourself and your importance, right? You are in service to different departments, and sometimes you're not going to make everybody happy, and sometimes it's just as simple as like, well, the goal for the team and the project doesn't align with the reality that you've got to get something done. And so, adding cloth to all the characters isn't going to work, but what can we do? And hopefully you've worked with the design team early enough to get those things figured out. Or you came back and said, hey, you know what? We've got 400 characters on screen. We can't add cloth bones to all of these characters. So I think, understanding optimization is important as just a general game developer. And but I think for staying sane, communicating your humility, and also just being able to stand up for why you're fighting for something with a solution, and not just complaining like, hey, I want more animation, or I can't, just be solution minded, I think is one of those things that helps you not get spun up when something changes. Everything changes. The software that you get a game ready to ship, and guess what? Like, PlayStation 2 doesn't ship with the same amount of RAM they told you it was going to have, right? Like, oh, the disc only has this much room, or, whatever. On Epic Mickey, we were building the game, and then they're like, well, you're going to be on the Wii, and suddenly you strip half the level and half the character. So it's just, it's just, you have the game development is a flexibility. You have to stay flexible and not get too personally attached to the art or the, personal project versus work. And
You can do what you can do.
Final separation, yeah.
Absolutely. The hardware is important to actually take into account.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
But I think that, to me, I've watched people get so attached to their work that it's personal, and it's not. It's work. You're making a project and a product, and you can be passionate about it, but it's not a reflection on. I've done horrible work that shipped. I can't go, well, that needs to be the, like, if this is the best thing. It was work. It got done. I moved on. I learned from it, and you keep going. But I think disconnecting your personal passion project from the daily work is the only way to stay sane long term, because otherwise you burn out.
Sasha here says that tech anim are similar to scientists. When experiments fail, they get excited to find out why. Do you guys?
Yeah, for sure. That's it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If you are not really like clever as myself, that is a problem, because you need to find out, right? And
When it's your own fault. Who
not-
did this? Oh, me. Oh, whoops.
Yeah, but it's good. At the end of the day, you challenge yourself as well in that regard, and trying to find out, if something failed and how to do it better. And at the end of the day as well, serving others. I'm thinking about animation most of the times, and what I'm trying just to do just to please them,
Hmm.
just to be myself, the one, and actually, I'm as well. I'm the one creating maybe the rigging, but I'm the one as well maybe animating it. If I'm happy enough,
That's
that
true.
could be just my standards because I'm not really consider myself really special. So if I can animate with this, I think everybody can. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's a little bit like that. I think that's a
Yeah.
little bit as a special ability or characteristic of technical people.
Exactly. Yeah, for you, Emilio, that yeah, you saved us a bunch of time because a lot of the time in games, what you have is tech animation doing rigging, and then there is actually a process that you normally test. You send it to animators for them to test it, so they can come back to you with like features that they want, or things that are broken, or things that are the controllers that need to be shaped differently and stuff. Emilio, because he's a tech animator and an animator, he would actually be testing the rigs at the same time as animating it. And sometimes we'll tell Emilio, "This is good enough, Emilio. We can animate with this." Like, no, 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 no. We can actually have to add this other.
In those little times I had to do rigging for a really long time or whatever, my animation escape is just doing this kind of range of motions,
Yeah,
skinning tests that actually I'm doing all my overlaps and all my, proper animation in
that's
those
it.
tests,
Which it looked great.
because I'm, complementing myself and I'm missing the animation now, but I'm doing some technical things, so I just put it, my head of focusing on that thing. But my skin ROMs are actually really polishing.
Mm,
So, when I'm trying just to obviously you guys as well when you're trying just to publish something that you've done and you're gonna be you're gonna have a bunch of customers there, right, the animators, so
yeah,
you don't really want just to to release whatever is actually there, right?
of course, of course.
Probably some people that do that, but we don't.
We don't.
Yeah, even if it's a really quick job, as your brother was saying, sometimes you cannot really be proud of everything you do because everything just serves a purpose in the game. Sometimes you have, small budgets and small times for doing things. But even, I got a problem with myself, even the stupidest of the things, I remember just doing, back in the day, we didn't have physics. We had to maybe bake, long chains and ropes and things like that, all baked in animation. So sometimes maybe, just hundreds of frames of animation just to doing something as an idol for a kind of chain of whatever. And those things actually, they made me feel so happy about you putting some kind of assets into the game that's actually animating, even if it's just
Yeah,
fake or whatever. That little things, even the stupid things like that, just made me feel the fulfillment of that's something achieved. Even you can't really be proud of that, but it's something that's actually needs to be there, and the more you can really put in there in terms of animation, the happier I could be.
of
So
course.
all those things are always nice. And just find just pleasure and all these little things as well. That keeps me sane as well. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I have here a question. Well, the first of many, many questions. Thanks a lot. Keep them coming. From Chromosome. So, what would you wish animators knew more of to improve or make your job easier? And then he also mentioned the comment disappeared. I need to bring it back again. He also mentioned that is there any skills you think are valuable for aspiring animators or tech animators? So it's like two in one. Brad, you can go first to go the other way
Oh
around.
yeah, I was gonna let Amaresh go first.
Amaresh, go first? Okay, cool. Amaresh, go first.
Yeah, I lost the first part of the question. What was that?
Oh, it was what would you wish animators knew more of to improve it or make
Okay.
your job easier?
Yeah, so if you are an animator, if you want to give good feedback, I mean, feedback is super important. So as we were discussing, like that one control that is not worth going back for,
Mhm.
just just don't give that as a feedback. Just make your work. If it can be done, just do it. And that's how you do work in a pipeline, because you have to think for your teammates as well. You just can't think like, hey, I want everything to be perfect for me, and that's where
Yep.
other person doesn't have that time bandwidth or the resource bandwidth that we usually struggle with in different teams. So that's where you can be like super useful to your teammates, saying that hey, it's okay, it's totally fine, and if you need any help, then just let me know, because I can also scale the control if you're okay with that. because obviously you are tampering with the source file, then you have to be careful and you have to let them know first before doing it all by yourself. Otherwise you'll like mess up a lot of things, and especially your relationship with the tech animator. And the second part of the question, what can you do to become a tech animator, is learn to negotiate, learn to say no, because most of the times that's what we do.
Yeah.
And uh, another thing is to don't be scared of failing, and learn to fail fast as much as you can, because that's how you learn and you move further. Because as Joshua said that it's just experiments that keeps failing, and we keep solving it. And most of our time goes into these failed experiments because it's a technical field, and any technical field comes with a lot of experiments. And it's how you like overcome those failures and find a solution to it. But you need to fail fast, so you can't spend like 3 months of your production pipeline in just trying to make the best tool possible that can just animate everything on its own, because you have to be practical about it, and you have to see like what's required and just serve that, and just move on to the next one. And if any such request comes in, like you're so close to the release and people are saying that, hey, you don't have that much memory budget, but we need all things to look fancy, or maybe look like Last of Us or something like that, but we are making a multiplayer game. So we like, with the skin influence budget that you give us, the skinning can do only so much. So that's what you get. Either like be happy with it, or we can't do much. So that's where you have to negotiate and be good with it. And yeah, that's about it. Negotiate and fail fast.
Nice one. Brad?
Yeah, so I think definitely saying no, and comes back to how you communicate it, right? Like if you have a problem with the rig, I think the biggest thing and the best thing that you can do is learn how to be detailed in your bug reports, right? Like, and that includes tech art too, right? If you've got a problem with Maya, if you just go, hey, it broke, it crashed, and then you hope that they fix it someday, good luck. It will be years, and it will never get fixed. And if you're an animator working on a rig and you say, well, my favorite is like, hey, the shoulders don't deform right, and they didn't touch the clavicle control. It's just one of why did we put those clavicles in there? You want to just drag the arm up and rip the arm off the character? Like that's really kind of not a rig problem. That's a you problem, and just animate. Sometimes you just need to animate, and I think if anybody's not familiar with Raf Anzovin and ephemeral rigging, or Lico's space switching stuff, I think there's been a nice and good trend towards animators being responsible for the controls and the manipulation of the controls without having to push it all the way back through the rig, and not having the rig carry every wish and decision that the animator wants to make at the end of the project. Like that ship hopefully has sailed, and people are, it's not even tech anim, it's just understanding and the freedom to control the rig how they want, instead of having to go at the beginning of a project, make sure the rig has everything you need in it. And I think that also helps both animation and tech anim. The more you experiment with new animation techniques, the less you need to push on the rig to contain all of the things that you don't understand. So, you don't have to be a tech animator, but if the animator understands why a rig does something, or how to control the relationship between the animation curve and the final output, gimbal lock issues, people have fought with that for a long time. And if you don't understand why that's happening, it'd be like a photographer not understanding why all their pictures are black, because they don't understand exposure. Like the animator's job is to understand their tools. And we're there to build good tools that should be stable and consistent, and then the animator should learn how to use those tools. And when there's an actual problem, then you can figure out, oh, this is I made a mistake, this is a bug in the rig, or the rig doesn't support that because XYZ, it's we don't have the influences, we don't have the controls, or that's totally something we could add, just overlooked it, right? So the more control and understanding of the tools that they're using, the better for animation. And then when you move to tech anim, you know where to focus and spend your effort, and you know how to communicate to the artist too. So
amazing.
I think that
And do you have any skills you think is valuable for aspiring tech animators?
Yeah, I think exactly that. The better you can understand both the tool maker side of it and the user, right?
Right. I see. I see. I
I
see.
think, you can also think about it like the race car driver is not in the pit changing the tires and in the engines, but the race car team
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
that the track conditions are this, that the tires are going to perform this way, and they listen to the feedback and tune the car with the driver. And that's the animator is the performer is the driver. And so those tools, including the environment they're in, right? You switch to
Yeah.
Unreal and suddenly everyone wants Animbot. Why though? Because it's a fancy tool, or because there's certain functionality they expect when they shift the gear that the engine doesn't like just go backwards, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
certain expectations because the tools and because they've learned something in a certain way that gives them the ability to do their job. And so
Mhm.
switching software isn't, well, just use software X or software Z or Y or up, down, whatever it is, right? Unreal is going to switch to Y up and everyone's going to freak out. All
That's
those
it.
things are variables. But I think the more you can, as an animator, if you want to do tech art, is make sure that you understand the relationship between the artist's use of the tool and
Yeah.
the base foundation resources like control and the math and all that stuff, and you can and it can go as deep as you want, but just having a relationship and understanding of the animator wants this, and Rosetta Stoning that language back to, well, the tool's there, you just didn't know that this rig control did that,
Did that.
or oh, it's missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually learned that the hard way, and hopefully, I used to work somebody that would know Brad and I, Mark Jackson, and he had like a super solid pipeline before Red 9. Some of you might know that is now Red 9, but back in the day it was actually, these tools in Eurocom, this company. And I remember as a junior animator, I used to go to Mark all the time because I used to have all these ideas. I was like, I'm pretty sure they don't have a tool for this. I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna go to Mark. I'm gonna tell him. He's gonna be so amazed. And we're like, yeah, we're gonna make that tool. So he would come to my desk all the time with his tea all the time like this. And be like, so what do you want, Harvey? And then I would be like, well, I had this idea and I don't have this tool and I want to do this thing and I cannot make it. So can I make it? And then he would just grab my mouse and be like, have you tried this? Click, click.
Yeah.
And then he would show me the tool and he was like, oh, I feel such a damn ass.
This button right here does this. Yeah.
To the point that I would have to actually double check, triple check, ask everybody in my team, do you guys know if there's a tool like this that does this thing, before I would go to Mark? So what Brad mentioned is exactly 100% right. It's very much like, if you know what the animator wants and how they think, then you can give them the tools. And Mark also was an animator, just like Brad was mentioning, just like Emilio, and just like Amaresh, and he basically build those tools for himself in a way, and he helps a ton. So yeah, it's actually quite funny how these things go, especially when you're a young shot. You think you know everything. And Emilio, what say you in regards
Or
to this question?
just emphasize on what Brad and Amaresh said, and even you, Harvey. For me, what I need, what I wish that they can really improve is the understanding. About just take time just to understand the rig,
Mhm.
all the features, everything that actually is up there. Come to me to ask if you don't really find the ways or whatever. But understanding even the basics of everything that's happening in animation, it
Mhm.
gotta really be part of the technicalities,
Mhm.
right? 3D animation is not really, now they're trying just to get away, just for me as an animator, I want just to get away of all those technicalities because I want to focus as an animation, right? But come on, that's not possible, right? You need to understand all those technicalities, how all those tools, the rigging or anything like that is actually, all the tools that actually, that in your hands just to create animation. The more you're understanding about that, the better you're gonna be as an animator, and
Mhm.
the more you're understanding about ourselves, how we crafting all these tools for you, limitations or no limitations. Sometimes it's about people don't really having the time or the patience or whatever just to find out what is actually there for you just to
Mhm.
be just to solve the problem in animation with features in the rigs and things like that. Most of the times, I heard this 1,000 million times. We're working with gear most of the times, and just and in love with gear, Mikel.
Yeah,
Uh,
so good.
it's just, it's just really good. But animators, most of them, they're overwhelmed by the amount of controls and features and possibilities.
Hmm.
What for me is that's the other way around. Possibilities is always good to have.
Right.
And but if you have the time just to understand why all these features, why all these controls are there or whatever, just find out why and then use it in a good way. I think you will find you will understand why was the reason of those things.
Right.
And I think it's a little bit, you can really create rigs for yourself and just be happy with them. That's a good thing. Usually when we are interviewing people, just riggers or something like that, one of the questions is, how many animators that were using this rig at some point, whatever you've been doing in, a certain time. And that's a question actually always asking to people, because at the end, you have one animator working in your rig, you know, it might be good, it might be bad, but you have 20 animators working for 4 years in a project, and your rig is actually solid and everything is all right. I think you're doing a good job. But the more you're actually, all these open source frameworks and whatever, they've been created for, just with a lot of users.
Yeah.
And all those features in rigging and in every single rig right now, there's a little bit of standards pretty much in everywhere.
Yeah.
They are there for a reason. Understanding is a good thing. As well, understanding not only about that specific rig or whatever, about rigging in general, about, because as an animator, you are actually using all those tools just to animate. So you really
Right.
need to understand what is actually behind the rigging,
Behind
just
the,
to
yeah.
go down there just to understand, what is a deformer, what is actually these constraints,
Yeah.
the controls, everything that's actually IKFKs, space switch, everything, understand that and use it. And then, use that just to do better animation. But, for me, that is just really, I got this, every day, right? Because actually someone is coming to me and asking me about something that is actually so clear that was there in the rig, right? Because it's right there. But some people, just they don't have that kind of time or dedication, whatever. So I wish that they can really understand a little bit more about
Yeah.
features and things like that in the rigging. And the
Completely.
skills, I think that is everything, right? Just understanding that is gonna make you a better animator or a better technical artist. And trying just to come up with simple solutions, better solutions for animation. At the end of the day, it's just actually getting something that's appealing as an animation there.
Mhm.
The more that you can really understand the technicalities of it and take advantage of that, the better it's going to be for you. So that is a skill, it's inspiring people about, okay, you understand all the space switch, the Lico came up with everything back in the day.
Yeah.
Embrace it and use it, and you will understand animation in a different way, right? Sometimes I just talking to people and say, wow, I wish that you can understand animation as myself, right? In that kind of, in that way that I can really see everything so clear, right? It's like you have
You know
the
what
goal
animators
of the
want.
animation, and then you already know how you're gonna do it because
Yeah.
you have in control of the rig and not the other way around. So that for me is just the skills that actually motivating me more just to find as well solutions for all sort of animation at the end, and
Yeah.
always just keen on simulations, using physics for everything, just all those things is actually providing tools and skills to you just to get better animation in game or anything you
Yeah.
do.
Perfect. Amaresh, you raised your hand, right?
Yeah, just to since Emilio mentioned that M Gear is a nice tool, I
Yeah.
totally agree with him. But there's a certain caveat to using M Gear when you start your career, because there are like many great tools, Advanced Skeleton, M Gear, then a bunch of like great tools in Blender that helps you generate rigs on the go.
Hmm.
But you need to go through the manual rigging process to be able to understand the concepts and the foundation of rigging.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I see many riggers, they just start with these tools and they don't understand like why gimbal lock is happening, what
Yeah.
Brad mentioned, like why, what causes it, and why primary, what is primary access, or why,
Yeah.
how do I manage my own space switching, or how do I manage stuff on the node editor, because they've never been there. And that is a big cause of concern nowadays, because like all these tools can market themselves so well through the social media platforms. People think that, hey, my life is becoming so easy, so why shouldn't I just do that? And Emilio knows better because we chat a lot about M gear, and that's where I think understanding what M gear is built on top of gives you more clarity of how to use M gear. And
Hmm.
that's why, I mean, Emilio's rigs are a great example of how to use M gear. So just if you haven't tried that, just download those free rigs and learn from those. I mean, break it down, because Emilio has provided everything from scripts to skinning, like skin weights and everything. You just have to learn like how do I like, you don't just snap your guides to where your bone should be. You need to learn like how does the orientation matter for the guide routes and things like that.
Mm.
So that's where manual rigging will teach you a lot of things, and that's part of the failure process that you need to go through. You need to go through that feeling of flipping your table for real when you are trying to
At
do a
least
personal
once.
project.
At least
Yeah,
once.
yeah, at least once. That has to happen.
Yeah.
That teaches you for life that this is why orientation or joint orients matter a lot.
Mm.
So, because if you see most
Brad
of
is
the
like, please continue the gospel.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you see, download most of the free rigs or paid rigs that are available in marketplace and such, you'll see so many problems in there, in the joint orients and such, and you'll be like, okay, this is definitely made using some sort of tool that generated the rig, and they're just trying to sell it. That's about it. And that's where animators can be a bit more aware in giving feedback, saying that, hey, these are the things that are wrong, and animators can just be a bit more curious. That's about it.
Absolutely,
That's a
yeah.
great. That's
Brad,
great.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. There's a lot. I'm gonna try to stay calm. So yeah, absolutely 100%. And I mean, I literally this morning I had so I've been running Rigging Dojo for a while now, and I've been having classes of people, and I it's Rigging 101 as a class, but really it's the history of why you don't hand rig most of the time. At the end of the class, they should have suffered enough to know the underlying reasons things are done, and then they can happily use M gear later. But they will suffer a little bit. And a student posted a rig today, and I'm like, great, you have scale on like 4 of your things, and there's your mesh is like, and the controls are, and it's like, well, you did this by hand, so how do we fix it? You rebuild it, like you just start over. So
Right.
I've been teaching the pain. I really should rename it like the history and pain of rigging 101. And I'd
He has
probably
a nice
get
brain
zero
for it.
students, but I think the other thing is like uh, the joint orient thing. I think I'll rephrase this. The understanding of the rig at the core, meaning what is the rig supposed to do? And if you look at like the old, like, I mean, I work at like Ozone guys are all a lot of Pixar guys. They had their own like Unicorn Island. They had PhDs writing software, and they're incredibly talented and amazing the way they think of characters. And I'm learning all of that with them.
Mm.
And then I feel like I was in the wastelands of rigging for 20 years as a freelancer, and just like I stepped out of full production when my daughter was born, so she's going to be 21, and I stepped away from that, and I basically have been consulting and teaching and living in the badlands of production for 20 years. So I think I said on Twitter the other day, anyone can make a rig. It's making a rig that is like service for the production is what's
Mm.
critical. And if you're rigging for Unreal, and you're rigging for film, or you're using Maya joints and you don't care about them, they're just there to hold skin weights, and you are baking everything down and sending it to render, or if you're exporting for a mobile game, like every decision, all of the technical aspects count and matter. And that's even more important if you walk into a project no matter what your experience level, and there's legacy assets. You can't just make a change and fix something and think it doesn't affect 400 animations or 1,000 animations.
Yeah.
So, I think the understanding how to walk yourself back out of those problems. I started with a project, the game team changed the skeleton probably 3 times. And between Maya and Motion Builder and deciding Unreal or what was good, like, and knowing what that impacts and how to fix those things and how to fail, but also how to work yourself back out or deal with mocap that you may have never dealt with and be flexible. And that goes for animation too, right? Like you can download a rig and it's perfectly fine to just animate for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, Blender users, great example. Rigify is great. And there are 4 million questions. How do I export it to go to a game engine? Well, you don't. It doesn't work that way. It was never built for that. So, the rig itself is great. It does all these things. Just the one thing everyone uses it for and does all the work and then tries to go, hey, how come it doesn't export? Well, that was the thing you check for first.
Right.
M-Gear is awesome until an animator wants it to be advanced skeleton.
Yep.
Right? If your whole animation team is used to one interface and one type of work, and you throw a different rig and different interface on them, it's going to be a problem. And that happens over and over again too. So understanding like, hey, if you have software, like if you look at Roomba or you look at like the Pixar software or you look at what Maya does versus Unreal or Blender, there are certain ways the software encourages you to work or certain legacy of learning. Animation Mentor, Animbot, everyone learns a certain way to approach animating. And if you're a pure keyframer and you've only done cartoony stuff and you're doing TV stuff, you're expected fast turnaround. Your curves are precise and clean, and you're very pose to pose. And then you go throw them on a mocap show or put them on a game, and suddenly you need to make cycles and blend trees, and they have no idea because they've never experienced that. So like each of those things is the balance of the technical side of using the tool, the artistic side of creating the performance, and then the tech artist that's trying to balance their understanding of how they work with what rig options you have and the limitations of the project and the target platform, and is it rendered end game, and on and on and on. And did the modeler freelance and you hired all the models? Someone asked about topology. We can talk about it later, but it each say, A pose, T pose, whatever. It's like, well, do you have a modeler to fix this? No, then it's whatever pose you get. That's your rig pose.
An M pose.
It's whatever was paid for pose. So
that's
it's just that the tech art side and the artist side is really balancing those constant pressures of what is the rig capable of? Anything you want. Do you have budget? No, then you get what you get. I use M-Gear, but I want advanced skeleton. Why? Because it's got 400 tools that matched what Studio Max did in Biped. Great. I have M-Gear. If that doesn't work, each of those decisions requires a separate logic tree to figure out what are they actually asking. So
absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, no. I think that those are all brilliant answers, and I think people are enjoying it. Carlos here says, guys, now I want to work with you. Carlos, we feel the love. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. There's a bunch of other questions that are coming in fresh, and I think there's one here by Danny Ox that says, if you were to start in tech animation, I guess today, what would be the first thing that you do? And I think this is an interesting question because now we have Control Rig and Unreal and all this new frontier. So maybe we can start with Emilio. How would you start as a tech animator today, 2025?
Well, you contacted Brad and he's going to teach you everything. Simple as that. Right? Thank you, Amaresh, for your kind words at the self-promotion.
Harvey's mocap for animators class, right? We start there.
I mean, when I try to do with my rigs as well is, just to provide a way of those people that can really be intimidated by the technical art technical animation of the things, just to be able just to understand that, it might not really be that difficult. Obviously, M-Gear is just facilitating a lot the tedious process of rigging, because you're skipping a lot of steps, right? But you still really need to understand all those principles and basics, foundations of rigging. Uh, but I'm trying just to do this in a way that just putting all the guys there, my really awful scripting and Python knowledge and everything like that, just to understand that you can really start doing your own thing, understanding how those technicalities works and things like that. And I think my advice is obviously start from the beginning, right? You have to really go back, get to your simple of the bones, and then create the constraints. Just do the simples, and just start from that. And obviously, I understand that it's not really for everybody. Some people don't really want to understand why the things are actually happening, or why it's actually behind that rigging or anything like that. But I think as a professional, you want to be part of this, not only game development, whatever is actually you doing animation for anything, the more you're understanding about all those principles,
Better.
the better you're gonna be, and the more understanding as well for other people that actually, because it's teamwork.
Yeah.
You cannot really say, oh, this rig is really really bad, without understanding, there's a person behind that's actually been, trying just to do the best. So, the feedback and how you're actually approaching people and things like that. But, just this right now more than ever, just this information there for you just to go to really basics and just understand, how rigging works, and then from that, maybe sparks something that actually, you can really start enjoying it and just doing more. For me as well, a way of, I really hate everybody's using the same rigs over and over.
Mm,
Come on, guys.
yeah,
You know,
100%.
I don't really have a passion of animating some, that character or that generic vanilla rig that is always there. So I always have, if I can really animate my own rigs, maybe you are passionate about, whatever, right? Just, I don't know, I got tons of those things here, the castle crashers, right? The starters.
Oh, yeah.
You download it, you don't, you can really go to Sketchpad, get your, model from somewhere,
Sprite right.
and then there's no rig for that, but you really love that character. So why not? Start from that. Just get all the basics. Go to really simple tutorials with tons of really good people that have been just explaining how to rig things from scratch, and get your model, and then, just, even it's gonna be bad first one,
Yeah,
but either way, that fulfillment of getting that character and be able to animate it and then your own thing, this is actually that's how it starts. So
amazing.
that for me as well, that's really important, right? At the end of the day, everybody here in game development, on any kind of art, is about, you're a creative guy, right? Everybody is just really creative. You want just to do things. You want to express yourself, and it's not really a bad thing about using all these rigs and whatever, just more than fine. But sometimes, for me, what is actually move me is just to get that thing that maybe nobody else has been doing, or maybe there's not really, all my characters are a little bit of compromised because I'm not a modeler. I used to do things like that back in the day, but I'm relying on other modelers just to do some really good models, right? And sometimes, every single time I'm going to Sketchfab, or just going to the LinkedIn or ArtStation, just to find some modelers actually giving me that really cool model that I can really rig and animate, because I really love it. But anything is fine. Just whatever you want just to do as a personal project. That's a good opportunity for you just to go into the basics, and just get the rigging done for that.
That's amazing.
Using, as Brady was saying, Gear is not really, or Marissa was saying, Gear is an advanced framework. You need some understanding of the basics of rigging to use it well. I think there's as well, there's many people that don't use it, but gimbal problems, obviously, they're always there. And Gear is just providing rotation orders in pretty much all the controls, right? So you can order your gimbals in the way you understand gimbals, you can really go on, and Gear is actually providing something that you can really reorder your axis just to be a little bit less gimbal. All those features, understanding is a good thing, and just going back to the basics, get your really stupid cat and just rig it up and just do animations. Yeah, that's good. As well,
Really?
doing this as an exercise, as an animator or whatever, it will understand as well, a little bit about ourselves. Put
Absolutely.
yourself on the boots of a technical animator and see how it goes, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
easy just to, I'm pretty sure that many of my clients, my customers that are downloading my rigs, most of them that don't even have a gear installed. So they open it, everything is broken, put me a bad review and close it down. This guy. But just if you put yourself in my skin, and I think it's a good thing as well. Just
Yeah.
it's gonna provide some understanding
It's hard.
of what things are actually done.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, no, those are great answers. I was just about to ask you that because I think it helps animators to understand as well about what you guys do. And when it comes to starting in the industry, Amaresh, do you think there's like places that you can learn? Like, how does it compare to when you started? Like for somebody that is looking for a mentor or a place or like, first steps, what would you recommend?
Reach out to these guys that you see on your screen. They're amazing, they're super experienced, they have a lot of knowledge, so they can teach you a lot of things. But that being said, I mean, there are different aspects to technical animation nowadays, as we discussed. So if you, because it's not just rigging, and it's cloth, hair, and implementation as well that I do.
Mhm.
So if you want to go on the implementation, first of all, you need to figure out like what you love. And if you like controlling things, then you go on the implementation side. If you like servicing, then go on the rigging side, because animators are your clients at that point of time and you have to make them happy and you have to negotiate, as we discussed. But if you have to start on the implementation side, then love to code. Because if you, I mean, you don't have to be a super experienced programmer, or you don't have to be a gameplay programmer, but if you can talk their language, then you are a perfect bridge between art and the programming side of things, because there's usually a huge gap between the two, and that's what leads to a lot of game implementations looking a bit dodgy,
Yeah.
where you can clearly see that, hey, this is a programmer's implementation where they did not listen to animators, and animators are crying in their corner saying that, oh, my anticipation is gone, my weights are gone, and it's just a floating character following the capsule, and I don't love it. So, so that's where tech animators come into the picture, and they have to play that critical role of making that communication channel smooth when they can talk in both languages. So you have to quickly switch context and like translate each other, like both sides, and make them understand like, hey, let us find a middle ground that works for everyone and that makes the game better or the product better, whatever it may be. And I mean, there are a bunch of resources, like I learned from YouTube, so I am a good example in this case.
Mhm.
And I mean, earlier days, like if you go back to when Emilio started and when Brad started, there was nothing out there, literally nothing. So the only way to learn is to try all by yourself and just fail, just keep moving, and that's how you learn. That's how I learned as well, because I mean, you get you you gather all the resources that you can from the internet, and you'll be surprised like how much information people share for free on Twitter, on LinkedIn, because these are like my learning platforms, not my social media platforms.
Mhm.
And it's like people say Twitter is not good or whatever, X. So, but it's totally up to you how you curate your wall and the people you follow or people you interact with. If
Mhm.
you follow those kind of people, then it's going to be filled with toxic posts. So if you keep following animators, technical animators, game developer, all you see is like uh, a ton load of resources that is free, and it's like people don't have filters in there. They just talk. They just put like long threads, and you can just go through those threads. I have so many threads bookmarked in there. Just go through that and just learn as much as you can,
Yeah.
because it's not always a YouTube tutorial that walks you step by step. So for example, your channel, you don't tell people how to do anything step by step,
No.
but a guiding principle that can actually help you in your career,
Hmm.
because that tutorial is context based, and as soon as you move out of that context, it's useless.
No.
But for
Things move
rigging,
fast.
sign up for rigging dojo if you can. Really amazing.
Rigging
Highly
Dodge is
recommend.
amazing. Go and check it out. 100%.
Yep. And I mean, Brad is there on Twitter, so he's always
Yeah.
posting. I've been following him for quite a long time. And same goes for Emilio, learn from his rigs.
Yeah.
And then there is a really good channel by
And one thing
Anthony.
that
It's called,
we're really approachable, you know.
Yeah.
We are, yeah, absolutely. They're all super approachable. 100%.
You
yep,
know,
yep,
I
yeah.
got a bunch of
Everyone
people
is.
that actually asking me all the
And
time, right, and things like that. But
Yeah.
you know, every single one, you know, just I'm happy just to reply. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
don't be
mean,
shy.
I reached out to Emilio and I reached out to Harvey because I had nothing to lose. Because only thing was I can gain from them if they reply. If they don't, then it doesn't matter.
Great.
So I just like keep reaching out to people. That's how I network. And there's a really good channel on YouTube if you want to learn the basics of rigging. It's and CGI. So Anthony basically walks you through all the basics of rigging. I mean, I don't have a
Yeah.
channel yet,
It's a
so
great channel.
there's no point of self promotion here.
Right.
So if I do, then please follow me, whatever. But
In the
yeah,
future.
definitely go and give some love to Anthony on and
Yeah.
CGA. He really puts a lot of effort into editing his videos in a structured fashion,
Yep.
and you can just follow through the playlist. And he talks about rigging, he talks about tooling, he talks about a lot of different things. So there's a lot to
Yeah.
be, I mean, a lot of things that you can learn from there,
Mhm.
from his experience. And what else? I mean, from the implementation side, Unreal, like if you're working in Unreal, then Unreal's official YouTube channel has a lot of resources,
Yeah.
and their developers are super nice. Just reach out to them. They're not harmful, and you'll be amazed like how eager they are to share their knowledge, right? Because all the developers are working in a shadow, and they don't get much highlight, especially when they're in tech. So they're like, okay, someone recognized us that this is my work, and they're asking me, so I would be happy to help them. And you'll be amazed by how many people are eager to do that. And yeah, just go reach out to people, be nice to them, and don't just say like, hey, like start with hi, how are you, at least do the
Give me
general.
answers.
Yeah,
Exactly. How do I solve this?
don't just put a like bunch of questions, and that's all they see when they're looking at a
That's
conversation.
it.
That's not even a conversation. Treat it like you're talking to a person in real life, and you're reaching out to them saying that, excuse me, do you have time, and how are you doing, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. And that's when you like form a connection with them before you start like throwing questions at them, because when they have a connection with you, then they'll be more likely to help you because they understand like where you're coming from. And that's how like recently, it's not I'm not like talking that I don't practice. I recently reached out to Emilio, uh, writing a lot of text, and he replied with three times more. So I'm like, okay, we can be really good friends.
Yeah, I'm
Because
not surprised.
I do that with everybody, Amaresh. Don't worry.
yeah,
You're not
I
special.
mean that's the best part, right? And that shows that through your content as well, that you're sharing everything for free. And there are so many developers out there, technical animators, game developers, that are sharing bunch of content. Just give them some love, and yeah, you'll find a lot of good things. Just
Absolutely.
follow the right people. That's about it.
Um, absolutely. Brad.
I was just gonna say, yeah, Ant's YouTube tutorials have been really good. I send a lot of my students there too. Just when we get to the actual, like, there's 14 different ways to do something, and he's got clear content, and he's shared a lot of stuff for free as well. We've got a ton of free resources on Rigging Dojo, and yeah, I still charge people because when I started, and my partner Josh Carey and Chad Moore and I started, it was people would come to us with having done all the tutorials and still have no idea what they're doing, right? So
Yeah.
I think the the advantage of only having the user manual when I started in 95, like you read the actual manual from cover to cover and front to back, and you're like, okay, this is all the information I have, and then maybe you find somebody that has an answer. But beyond that, now there's so much information. If you don't know how to filter it, it's really, really hard also. And so, sometimes you're just being a mentor to understand the information that they've already collected. And, we've got free resources, and I kind of break it down. But the Unreal channel is amazing. I've got topology links and, rigging resources. And again, there's so many people that don't have money or time to pay for anything. But, you pay for it with your time. And a lot of us came up through exactly what we've talked about already, which is you find a little resource here, and then you just get to work and try it. And I think Emilio's comment earlier really, like, I wanted to animate something. I'd see a character I want to rig, and you just start picking something and just do it. Like, it's so easy to go, well, what if I make a mistake? Good. If that rig it again, right? Like, you have to try something simple. And also, I think the thing about like the professional versus passion personal project is that you can make all the mistakes you want personally. Like, there's no harm. You can try a new rig. There's Bear auto rigging. Ant CG has his own auto rig. M Gear, a rapid rig. A really, really nice, clean, simple rig for almost cheap, for almost free is I blanked on him. Well, I'll come back. But Advanced Skeleton's free with free resources and rigging. It's a little complicated, but he's got good sample characters, and but then you look at module control rig in Unreal, and if you were just starting from scratch and you wanted to be in game development, get Unreal, go to the YouTube channel for Unreal and look at the Unreal Fest video on control rig, go through the basic tutorials, grab a sample character, and just animate. Yeah. Just animate something. Don't worry about the rig, just animate until you figure out when you're sick of the thing, it won't do what you want. That's the first sign. You write it down and go, how do I fix this? And then you go back and you animate some more. And you find another thing that you don't like, and you write it down, and you start making a plan of things that you do not like when you're animating. And that's the first sign that you probably are going to end up rigging because you're going to go try to fix and find those problems when you're animating and going, yeah, I don't like this. I don't understand why the hand jumps every time I try to connect it to the prop, or why do I constrain the prop to the hand and the other hand to the prop, and then the whole thing explodes. Well, you learn about cycles and cycle checking and, self-referential constraints, and then you understand why Raph doesn't want constraints or rigs or anything. He just wants it to be like paper, and there's no connection in the rig except for the moment you manipulate something, and on and on. So yeah, right. Yeah. and I think one thing that, this will be a quick old man story, is that the reaching out to people, I got hired at Weta because of that. So I had applied at Weta because, everyone wanted to work on Lord of the Rings. That was, a long, long time ago. Jason Schleifer was there working on stuff, Bay Rate, all these amazing work. Applied, of course I didn't get hired because I was just a kid, I didn't have any real work to show. Years later, I saw a post on 3D Pro, and I was like, oh, someone from Weta in the motion capture department was having a problem with something that I had worked on with the motion builder team or the Filmbox team to fix. And so I messaged him and said, hey, I thought this was fixed. I don't, how are you still having this problem? So we started talking, and he's like, oh, my boss wants to call you. And so I had a phone call, and 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I think I just got hired at Weta to go help on Lord of the Rings, because it literally started with me reaching out because I had already contributed time and energy to fix this problem I was having at Acclaim with the software, and I saw someone else having that same problem, and it wasn't with any goal beyond, I worked to fix that. Why are you still having this problem? Maybe there's something we can fix together. And it turned into getting to go to work on Two Towers and go to New Zealand and make lifelong friends, and connect with people like Jason and learn an incredible amount. But it was started by basically just reaching out in offer to help, or to see like, hey, I was curious why you had that problem. So, that's my core. The more I give information away, the more I connect with people, the more I try to help. The only thing that I've gotten is, quadruple the amount back. It's always been positive. It's always been led to amazing experiences. And the same thing with where I am now. And I can tell you that as a separate story, but it's that curiosity, I think, is the core to all of this. And if you think there's going to be an easy answer, there is, but and maybe that's all you want. You have time for that, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to explore and dig in deeper, you can. And of course, there's so many different ways to explore and styles and people to learn from now. The resources are overwhelming. So just start simple and look for specific answers. Not, I want to learn to rig or be a tech artist. I want to make a shader that looks like car paint. I want a character that can be squished flat and talk out of the map. Like pick a goal and a target thing that you're interested in, and then explore that deeply, and that will start to open out and explore. Show you the world that you are going to explore more.
Very, very wise. Very, very wise, Brad. And Amaresh, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what Brad said, that resources are so much that you need to have a good filter. And when you work on personal project, especially when you're trying to learn something new, you have to become your own producer in a way that you have to decide like how much is a good scope. For example, when I started learning control rig, I didn't care about what should I rig the character in Maya and then bring it into Unreal. I just downloaded whatever was available and then started making control rig on top of it. And someone did share a course that I made for Epic on creating and modifying control rig. So that's when control rig was super new, and I came across a very good video on the explanation bit of control rig, because it wasn't on the Unreal's official channel. It was on the M Gear channel,
Oh,
where
was this
Yeah.
you? Was this you, Amaresh?
which one? No, that's not me. That's not me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Chad. I mean, not Chase Cooper. Yeah.
Okay.
Chase
Got
is
it.
awesome.
He's amazing. So yeah. So basically, I came across a video on M Gear's channel where Miguel invited Helgi. So he was in charge of control rig back then, and
Yeah.
he still is. So like they had a chat, and Helgi was just walking him through like what control rig is meant for and how it needs to be used, and that got me excited. Like okay, they like you find tutorials and resources in odd places that you never expect, but because I was expecting it to be in Unreal's official channel, but it wasn't. It was in M Gear, and I was not using M Gear at that point of time, but somehow it ended up on my feed. It only happens when you follow the right people. That's what I said. And yeah, that's where you need to scope it well, and you need to focus on what you want to learn. And similar thing, when I wanted to learn about the new IK retargeting in Unreal, I just went ahead and tried the most extreme thing, which is like turning a spider character into like transferring that animation onto a mannequin. And I did not wait for a like Spider-Man character. I did ask on Twitter, does someone lend me a Spider-Man character? No replies. So crickets there. But I was like, okay, let me continue with what I have, and mannequin is good enough to convey what I'm trying to do. So that's where I think, yeah, this is the course that we did with Epic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could not go through much in detail as much as we wanted to, or as much as we had in there. It's because
Hello,
of the
I'm Sana.
time duration. Yeah, that's my wife's voice.
Yes, exactly. And Sonali is
Yeah.
also here, just so you know. So and definitely go and follow Sonali, because she also has a YouTube channel. So hey, Sonali, nice to see you here. She also has a YouTube channel that is really good. So between Amaresh and Sonali, they form like a super powerful team of knowledge. It's incredible. They're great people.
Yeah. So, yeah, the point being, to sum it up, just scope it well, and that's what leads to good outcomes. Because try short projects. There's a good example of Matt Ringert there. So I reached out to him like, "Hey, you did this cool dinosaur rig in Control Rig. Can you tell me more about this?" And he replied that, "Hey, I tried rigging Dojo's course," and
Yep.
that's how I was like, "Okay, connection." So
Y'all come
Yeah,
to
there's a
work.
lot of the team there that came through Rigging Dojo, like Craig, who's part of the. Yeah, there's a ton of connection through that. I love it. It makes me so happy to see so many people that have come through that, like at the Unreal team, because then I can bother them, like, hey, What, how do you do this? Which is reversed. Now I get to ask them, hey, what's this control rig feature? How do you do the retargeting? I need help. So
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
And
awesome.
that's why like it's a communication channel that you can form and like sharing information back and forth, and that's how you learn from each other. So yeah, just scope it well. That's about it.
Absolutely. No, like all these questions, all these answers are amazing to these amazing questions. There's somebody here that actually asked, let me just get the question because this is a good one as well. And I think Chromosome asks, what's the difference between tech art and tech anim, and which one is the hardest in your opinion? I think that I think it might be useful for us to explain the different texts if we can as well. So yeah, maybe we can start with Emilio. What is the difference on the studios that you worked on between tech art and tech animation?
Well, and usually saying this to many people, imagine that you are multiplying the technical artist by how many frames per second your engine is able to run. That's how more difficult it is, right? Static versus animated, you know. It's not really about, difficulty or whatever, totally different things, right?
They lose
They
the battle every
complement
time.
each other in so many ways, right? And actually we're relying on many things as well because, technical art is about, is shaders and vertex shaders and all those things are actually really technical in how everything looks like and materials and all those things. And obviously, your characters actually benefited from that in many ways. And as well, in many places, depends of the technical art, just your technical animation and how everything just interconnected. And it's not really about more difficult or more or easier. It's just I think Amaresh was saying something about what you really need to find what you like, what's your passion, because I heard so many, right now some parents that just my son is playing a lot of games, maybe he wants us to do an video games development or whatever, but does this child wants to be? Does it have something that's actually because this we're talking about this maybe some people they really this is a job, right? We love this, and I love this into my personal life. But it's a job. There's a lot of problems that comes, with this as a job, right? There's a lot of frustrations, and just whatever's actually happening, in the professional life. So you really need to like it, and for me, that's the key. You need to like it, and then you like it, if you really fancy something, at some point, maybe including myself, I just made myself a little bit technical by accident,
Hmm.
just to find out a little bit, what I needed, and then I'm forcing myself just to be a little bit more technical that I would like to, just forcing it because I know that's just beneficial for me. So that's well, just when you're actually inside this professional place, you really need to get better, right? I think it's just that's as well, you're getting better as well, just challenging yourself and just learning more stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, just leave it like that.
Okay. And for you, Amaresh, what's the difference between tech art and tech animation? Once again, it changes from studios to studio, right? So
Yeah, yeah, because we already talked about it when we started the stream.
Mhm.
But the hardest part would be to differentiate between them. Yeah, that's the hardest part. And because
Yeah.
it totally depends from team to team, pipeline to pipeline, and based on what is expected in the final output. Most of the times, there's a lot of overlap between tech art and tech anim.
Mhm.
And I think Brad summed it up pretty well in the chat. So it's less character related, more related to optimization, VFX, and all those things. Material, shaders. Yeah, so I mean, tech art, they can, I mean, some studios, they also call tech anime as tech art, but they add like animation in front of it. That makes sense that, okay, they are basically animators and they deal with characters and animation. So, yeah, that's about it. And apart from that, there can be a lot of overlap. So, depends from what studio or pipeline you're working in.
Okay. And for you, Brad, what would you think? What would you say is like the the pros and cons of being a tech artist and tech animator from your experience. Is there like a difference that maybe people can actually be one or the other? Because maybe somebody is kind of wondering which one should I
Yeah, I
be.
mean, you could start the project as tech artists, helping get like the levels ingested and pipeline set up, and you could end it rigging characters because that's when animation started and the characters got designed. Or you could flip it where you've got a character as like a, a core main character as the playable character, and then the rest of it is just gray mesh levels, and then the characters are done, but you're now helping implement world physics and get the levels ingested and set up interactions with the character or animation tree execution or cloth layers. I mean, there really is like not a specific every game studio's description for tech artist or rigging TD or technical director is usually more film use, but a lot of times it's lighting and shading and optimization of that system so that it will play on the target game hardware on an iPhone or a Switch or a PlayStation or a PC, right? So
Hmm.
it's
It really
not
depends.
necessarily, yeah, it varies quite a bit, but you could do both. You could end up, depending on the time of the project, you could
Hmm.
switch from one to another. Maybe you're working with engineering to build the game and automate testing, and you're doing technical art for pipeline, and I've got friends that are purely optimization tech artists and ones that are purely designing shaders and lighting and working on environment tech art. So
Yeah.
it can be a subcategory in environment or in characters or what, like it really varies. So
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. So, short answer is complicated in games.
yeah, yeah,
It's
it
complicated.
is. No
Um,
standard.
no, yeah, exactly. Like the engine, like there's no linearity into like film, and because of that, there's like a lot to be done, and a lot of
Yeah.
things are getting pumped in and all that stuff. So it's difficult. Yes, Emilio.
And sometimes in the small studios, there's not really a difference.
Yeah.
They are actually doing everything themselves, right? You can be a technical artist, technical animators all together, and then the small studios is what it is, right? And is usually a technical guy anyway, and just
That's it, absolutely. So once again, thanks everybody that is dropping comments. Please continue asking questions. For anybody looking at this on LinkedIn, make sure you join us on YouTube if you actually want to ask questions, because otherwise I won't be able to see it. And I saw on the last two streams that there's a bunch of questions in both streams and I couldn't actually get to them. And obviously they're not in context, so feel free to join us here on YouTube if you want. I was telling everybody on the chat that these guys are legends, but Alex, this is not me, this is Alex saying you got some legends here. So I know everybody's humble, but it's official. Thanks a lot, Alex, for being here, man. I appreciate it. um, okay, so we'll actually kind of like move on to some like more generic questions that I think that are more to do with the future of tech. And AI is something that comes up a lot, and I'll leave that for the next one. But here, what kind of new or future tech do you look forward to right now in tech animation that most excites you? And we can go with Amaresh first, since Amaresh is always in the middle. So go ahead.
Yep. So, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is motion matching. And now that is like a new, it's not a new thing. It exists. It has been there for quite a while. And a lot of experiments and research have been done on that. And
Mm,
you can like go through all those papers. But yeah, I mean, nowadays it's more commercialized. So you can see with the game animation sample coming out, then there is Motorica like giving out AI tools to generate those motion matching animations pretty easily. And yeah, that's what excites me. And yeah, apart from that, all the real-time rigging tools or the character animation tools that has been coming in Unreal,
mhm,
because there's so much in there when like it's not the sequencer we started with. It's like an entirely different beast now, and you
mhm.
can do so much in there, and you can just live inside of Unreal. You don't have to go to a DCC anymore. Uh, I mean, in some cases you still do, but because there's always like production ready or not,
Yeah.
that question is always there. But if you really are trying to get into that field, then like you can just live inside of Unreal, and that excites me the most. Like, how soon can we stop this back and forth between DCC and Unreal?
Yep.
And we don't have to do exports and such, and we just can animate everything in context, like physics in there, hair physics, and everything. I mean, all the post process animation blueprint active. I mean, you can just animate in context and you have your environment running in real time and you can do so many cool things. And with the modular control rig system, I think sky is the limit. So, and it's not just Unreal, but Blender being a free tool, they are doing such an amazing work on the other side of like on the DCC side of things. So if you are a indie developer, you don't want to pay for those heavy licenses, then you can start with Blender, start learning the principles of different things, because you can do basically everything in Blender. And there's also always a caveat attached to everything that you get for free, because there's so much development happening at the same time, and there are only a few developers that can take care of it. So we have to be aware of that as well, and be very empathetic to them, that they're putting their best foot forward, trying to make it better for us. Because I see a lot of comment in Unreal forum threads that, hey, this tool broke everything for me, but that's not the tool, that's you. Because you should have read the document that, hey, it's still in beta, so they're telling you not to use it in production. If you
Right.
do, then it's your fault. So you learn from your own mistakes, or you learn through
That's
others
it.
mistakes, or you just read the release
Yeah.
notes.
It's beta for a reason, right?
Yeah, so similarly, motion matching is a new concept. I mean, AAA games are doing it, but the caveat with motion matching that you also mentioned recently in your video,
Yep.
that if we all start using motion matching just like MetaHuman, then
Mhm.
everything starts looking the same,
Yep.
and it's the same anim set, same. I mean, all the double A games or anything in between indie and double A will start looking same, because they are using motion matching, but at what cost? They're
Mhm.
giving up that creative like outcome that we get excited about when we download or see a new game coming out in the marketplace.
That's it.
And that's why I love indie games so much, that they have their own like they give you a different feeling, that it's a different world, and it's not that sample project that you're just playing in a different skin.
Yep. Yep.
So that's what worries me with motion matching, because people don't see the like other side of it. They're just excited about that this new shiny tool
Yep.
that they can use, and it's free, so everybody just jumps into that bandwagon of like, okay, let's make everything meta-human, let's make everything use game animation sample, and you can see your LinkedIn post filled with like similar looking outputs, and that's where it gets kind of frustrating to see that creativity is losing in that race.
Yep.
And I would like to use motion matching, because at the end of the day, it's just a tool. So if you can find a good balance of using less animation and still have those good blends and transitions
Hmm.
while layering things on top, that's when you're good to go. Because
Yeah.
now it's accessible for real to indie developers. Because if they can just put like 12 directional animation for, I mean, they won't have 12 directional animation, but if they can do with 4 and find a way, like it doesn't have to look exactly like a AAA game would, but if it looks decent enough that
Mm.
conveys the story, conveys the character and the weight and all those things, then it's good enough. Because
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's a game that you need to enjoy for what it is. It If you try to make everything look similar, feel similar, then there's no fun.
Yeah.
So
And
motion matching comes to mind.
yeah, no, that's a really good answer. It's funny though because I feel like we all understand why Epic is doing these things, like giving you away 500 animations so you can use in motion matching, and also creating a control rig, and also creating rigging systems within engine. But I think when you make things too easy, people have a tendency to use them much more, and as a result, that the friction that we used to have back in the day when we didn't have those tools, and we had to come up with interesting systems, and no two studios had the same thing in the GTC talks and things. I think that gets eroded a little bit, and that's it. That is definitely a problem.
We are losing your voice,
Oh,
Avi.
hello. Can you
Oh,
hear?
you're back.
I'm back. Okay. Yeah, so that stuff gets unfortunately gets lost. And I do think that friction that we used to have kind of like created more original games in Unreal. And I feel bad for Epic as well because there's this whole narrative about every Epic game, every Unreal game looks the same. But I don't think it's necessarily Epic's fault. It's genuinely because people are using these things in the same ways.
Yeah.
And it's
As I said, it's not the fault of who's making it. It's like who's using it and how.
that's it, exactly. So, Emilio, you have your hand raised as well, so feel free to go next.
Sorry, I think I just forgot to lower it down.
Oh, so now
I can go.
I have to go.
Amaresh already mentioned a few of them. Motion matching is just the way to go.
Motion matching. Mm.
Yeah. We're using it and not using it is just is nice. It's obviously there's not really it's not perfect, but it's just I think there's a lot of effort in animation right now, which is actually moving and moving fast, which is really good. Because for many years as well, I think everybody was focusing on millions of polygons and stuff like that. I say that before, but it's always happening. There's a lot of effort, in static
Yeah.
things. And when it comes to animation, you have all these amazing million polygons, global illumination, and everything that you can really have there. And then you have the character moving, and it looks really bad most of the
Mm.
times, right? Because animation is a really complicated thing to solve. So now we're starting just to move in the right directions. A lot of movement in things. And what is really exciting me is about all those things together. And to be honest, I said Unreal is just it's happening everything right there, right? So Brad is working on Ozone. I'm saying that right? I've been just following this for a really long time. It's happening soon, right? Promise.
Yes, yeah, we're we're
That's
we're
a
going as
new
fast as we can.
it's a really new way of deforming, a new way of creating, just really high quality deformations that is actually, animatable, and
Mm.
it's a totally different concept. There's another big thing about the ephemeral rig with Raf. Come on, you listen what this guy is saying and it blows your mind, right? Everything, in Unreal, they got all these gurus of rigging, they are wow, unbelievable. And control rigging in Unreal, it's just a new thing. The amount of things you can really get away with, and the way
Mm.
that's evaluating the rigs as well in this runtime, the performance and everything like that. Just, it's really nice. On top of that, you got deformers in Unreal, ML deformers, training, machine learning about, just deformations and things like that. Wow, that is just, in terms of real time solutions, that's what everything happens. And that really gets me really, really excited. Um, Blender, obviously,
Mm.
and just, I'm stuck to Maya in a good way, is my home, but
Yeah.
I feel like as many other people feel like just getting is our old dinosaur dying, and Blender is moving so much faster. No, not because it's free or anything like that, but you have to really see it. I think moving forward is the only way, pretty much in life,
That's it.
and just all these new ways of solving complicated problems is something that's is happening in all those softwares. Maya Autodesk is not really looking at that as a possibility. They want you just to be always, in these old ways of doing things. And when Amaresh was saying good thing, and Harvey, you saying as well as that, Epic is just providing all these tools for
Mm.
free in a way as well just to get you trapped,
Of
right?
course.
Getting you there, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
use it. But as well, for many years, Brad, about, the whole thing about pipelines is actually creating, content, assets, all the way through production until it's actually going to render or going to the game or whatever. And you have to create, exporters and ways of refreshing assets and re-importing, re-exporting, going back and forth, 1,000 million different softwares. And then somebody's using something that you have to accommodate, and really solving that, right? Solving that by just, staying in Unreal. And it's just growing so fast. and you got the latest technology there. And then sometimes when you really want is as well that kind of you don't really want to think about technical things when you're actually creating art of animation.
Mm.
So when you see all these talks about rigging in Unreal, how they're solving the problems, FKIK blending, come on, that we need to get away with that, right? Nobody wants in this century just to blend from IK to FK.
This
Come
is true.
on, right?
This is 100%
What
true.
for? If you're trying to understand that, you're trying to explain that to my wife. She say, What?
Yeah.
You have one chain here, one in the middle, and blending from one to the other. Well, what for,
It's
right? You
very
got
old
only
school.
one arm, right? You
Yeah.
know, things as simple as that, and real, obviously you can really, motion builder, Biped back in the day, 3D Studio Max, they got all that solved,
Yeah.
limitations or not. But, I think Unreal is actually achieving that in a really good way, right? So it's easier just to create a complicated craft that is animation. So that's the key. And
Nice
but
one.
yeah, just there's a new things that actually come in also on the ephemeral rigs. That is actually they chose Unreal for a reason as well,
Yeah.
right? And that reason is as well, just it's a really powerful tool, and
Amazing.
it's actually you can really grow and just can prototype and experiment, and then you don't really have the legacy of even Blender got some legacy, right? Has been
It's been around
and you
for a
have
long
to
time. Yeah.
accommodate to something that actually works in a way, and you have to do the tools for that. I think you guys and also you have some problems with Maya in the way that's evaluating things, right? Because I think that you were working on
Yeah.
Silo for
Yeah,
the
that's a
model.
whole,
It was
that's a
model.
deep conversation.
Yeah. So they are really good tools. We were
Yeah.
so for so many years working on Sophie Match exercise, which I love it. We're going through tons of softwares, but all of them they actually got some constraints and some
Of course. Yeah.
and obviously Unreal is not really magic, but in Unreal you can really do a lot of things, and that is actually I think that there's the future is there. As
Okay.
much as sometimes you want just to keep yourself in your comfort zone and say, I don't want to go to Unreal to animate,
Of
want to
course.
see
Yeah. You
something.
have to learn new things.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's just as well. It's something that I learned back in the really, really days. This job is not about. It's, you cannot really stay
Like
in one
still, right? You
place
have to
for
continue
long.
learning.
You're learning all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
absolutely crazy. We chose not to have family for reasons, personal reasons.
Yeah.
That is providing me more time to me just to be greedy and then just do more things. That's
You don't
why I'm
have
just
kids
go
kind of like nagging you.
something like that, right? You know,
Amazing.
but that personal growth as well is just something that I just really need to happen as well at work, and because everything moves so fast, right?
Of
And
course. Of course. Makes sense.
all these kind of new things that actually come in, they will provide a lot of good things for animation in the future
Hmm.
because the future is
Amazing.
actually right now, so it's good.
And what about you, Brad? What are you most excited? I mean, you're already working on some of the most exciting things,
Yeah.
according to Emilio. So, what are you
All
most
right
excited
there.
about?
Yeah, there's a lot there, but Amresh, you still have your hand up, or you had something to
Oh, I didn't see
No,
it.
no, you
add
can
to it?
go. You can go.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I think I mean, I've contributed to a lot of software over the years, and there's a lot of me in Motion Builder and a lot
Oh,
of
nice.
stuff in Maya that was decades of work, and then like I'm proud of that work, and then I put a lot of energy for the past few years into Blender,
Mhm.
and like 100+ fixes around animation tools and motion editing filters and training and learning around that because I just I needed to get something done, and it kind of went down a rabbit hole. So I think that there's never there's always something new, and I think the exciting thing is that like there's at the same time everything's kind of merging, and Houdini's getting control rig stuff that feels like you know a well, their rigging system now, and they're trying to get animators in there. Their system feels like control rig, and control rig looks like what we pitched at Blender, and Epic has all the developers to do it. And you've got Roomba with their rigging stuff that's released, and Cascadeur with their physics-based stuff, Ragdoll physics that's in Blender, Maya, and it just it's I think you're starting to see more and more tools that are manipulation of characters instead of a specific. I have an IKFK snap, right? And I think that's the, like we've had IK since the mid 90s. That's not something new, and it's still the same solver in Maya and Max, and like these things aren't different. But like Unreal's trying to solve the problem and allow the things that the animators are wanting to do to be easier. Space switching, drag and drop control rigs. So this stuff's like, there's a bunch of new stuff that is basically like what it should have been. And then we can actually improve it. And then on the new tech, so I posted a link. So Ozone's, yeah, I'm currently technically the product manager and head of training for Ozone Storytech, and those guys came out of Pixar and feature film and looked at real time and went, you only get joints and blend shapes. What kind of rigging is this? This is nonsense. Like, how do I like what about all the cool deformers? And it's like, no, it has to bake down. Oh yeah, you gotta Harvey's got to get all the privacy settings for our video. But so one of the things that Pixar came out with in Jerry's game was subdivision surface modeling, and Lightwave had it, and people are still trying to model in NURBS, and our new plugin is going to basically just be our subdivision surface engine. So I've got a character that's running 3 million polygons in Unreal as a layer, but I rigged a base cage, right? So the hitting 3 in the Maya viewport doesn't exist in Unreal. You bake out your mesh, and it's you do LODs, and you have a heavy cage, and that's it. And so our subdivision surface tool is real subdivision surfaces. So you can actually see, that's a good example, is like you get smooth rendering the same way you would out of RenderMan or out of Arnold, or turning a subdiv modifier on in Blender, and you get it in Unreal as a live subdiv process. So
That's incredible.
It makes it really fun to animate, because you can take these little cages, and we've got some cool animations coming soon. I want to share it, but I can't yet. We have this very simple asset that's control rigged up, but it's so fun to stretch him around, because the subds, just like in Maya, right? You're just used to this like feature film rigs look a certain way, because not just the rigging and deformation, but because the surface is being tessellated at render time, and you never have an edge. So getting rid of these heavy assets and having new rigging opportunities is part of this. And then the actual deformer technology is our separate product. That is all of the deformer systems that you could imagine building in Houdini, or imagine building in Bifrost, or the geometry nodes in Blender, but encapsulated in a node that opens the rig and runs identically in Unreal and wherever we port it. So the animation is one-to-one. It's a stack of deformers like max modifiers or Moto style ideas, but we control the entire deformer stack. So Brian Tyndall's Art of Moving Points. Brian I work with every day now, and I've learned, like, every day it's like a master class in topology. And like someone asked in the chat about topology, and like these guys literally think every point matters. And so when you are so controlled and detailed, and you have different weight maps per direction and all this stuff, I'm starting to get spoiled that I have to rig other ways, which is a problem, because you have to do other stuff, and you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about twist joints. I have when up and down is separated out with weight maps, and the jaw drop down has a separate map for then up, and I can you just get all this ultimate control, and then it opens in Unreal, and you run around and you have fun. So that's a little self-promotion, but I think just in general, seeing more accessible control rig ideas and this proceduralism, instead of having to build an Uber rig like we talked about before, having to learn, like, foundations are really important, but sometimes you just want to animate something. And our animator at work basically learned, like, had a robot character that was missing a finger rig, and he dragged and dropped it on, and he could animate. So you end up with, like, Brian's been posting this stuff on LinkedIn about some more new topology stuff.
Oh, sorry.
And that's okay. So and even Brian, like, he and I talk about, like, pushing. The Art of Moving Points is pretty old now, but the 3-wave principle is still hard of the way our rigs work. And I've seen this done in several software, because it's a foundational idea, but it's not portable, right? You bake it down, you end up with, like, a locked, fixed blend shape or joints. So I think for me, my favorite thing of all this stuff is just these ideas are becoming more accessible outside of their individual like siloed areas, right? You could look at deformer ideas that were in Pixar stuff years ago and someone emulates it in geometry nodes, or you see something that is locked away in you want to just lattice a character for Unreal, and now you can because of deformer graph. So I think we're getting less giant, like, oh, there's global illumination on everything. You don't have to fake it with lights. That we haven't really had that. We had ZBrush explode for modeling, and then there's sculpting that became a thing, and we never really had that for animation or deformation. And unless you were at ILM and having custom solvers written, or and even then you see like, okay, Ziva got bought, and like there's the ideas haven't really changed. In the end, an animator's still grabbing a control and moving it and setting keys, and how those keyframes get mapped to the final deformation or the final animation is still pretty basic and pretty limiting. And the retargeting stuff has not really improved forever. So I'm excited for, there's a bunch of AI stuff that people are asking about. And I think, to me, just the accessibility of these ideas, Raf's stuff that he and I've talked about forever, that I was always used to in custom tools, like being ephemeral rigging. Like he's on the extreme end of like no interpolation needed. And I kind of agree, because that's almost a post process. It's like worrying about topology first. Like if your character looks terrible, no matter how good the topology is, it's going to look terrible. If your animation is terrible, no, it doesn't. The interpolation's not going to fix it, right? So like,
that's it.
Having these tools that let you just be creative and not technically fight with, well, I made this work here, and now if I change it, everything breaks, is so limiting. Oil painter just paints.
Exactly.
And you watch Glenn Keane, he draws a bad drawing, he rips it off and puts one down and traces it. That's it. He's done with his next frame. It's instant. And he's not like, well, what if I change this? Is it going to break my animation 14 frames down? Like it's like accumulating debt as you go, and you get less and less creative and more afraid to change things, because it means your time goes away. So I think change tolerance and less, more flexibility, and being adaptive in handling change is kind of a core tech that we're seeing everywhere. The rig is flexible.
Like I actually remember back in the day when like we saw I remember it was like a behind the scenes for The Incredibles, when Brad Bird is like talking to the team and stuff, and they showing the software that they use. And the animator was just picking on the skin and moving it and deforming the face and stuff. It was called, was it what, like Mannequin or
They had DreamWorks and Pixar both rewrote their software, so it was like
so
Menvy at the time or something. But it was
exactly. And to me, it was like amazing that they could just like pick the thing and just go whoosh, and just like get a smile. Or like we have to use controllers in top of the face to get the thing, and then try to kind of shape it with controllers and stuff. And people use. I remember perfectly when I went to a tablet and started kind of picking the controllers with my hands. Well, it felt like that with the tablet. As you go with the pen and stuff, it feels immediately like you just a little closer to the model, but you're still not 100%, but you're at least a little bit closer, that it feels like you're just manipulating things a little bit better. And it sounds like what the stuff that you guys are doing is incredible. And I'd love to have you back here, Brad, so we can talk about that, because I sound like this is going to be the future. It's going to be great for all the animators out there.
Yeah, it's we hope so, but I think there's new stuff in every department, right? And I feel like finally animation, maybe Amaresh and Emilio, like it finally feels like we're kind of having our ZBrush moment for animation, with like more tools that are actually real time, instead of like deconstructing everything and rebuilding over and over again. And just you want to change tires on your car, and you have to rebuild the entire car and mine the ore to make the engine. Like it's just we've had no advancements in rigging in really a long time, and you start to see it in little pieces. It's like, oh, there's a SIGGRAPH paper now in Blender, or even just ideas are accessible. Like geometry nodes let people explore these ideas, and before, like they don't. I've watched less technical people just try to do stuff, and it lets them experiment. And those flexible experiments let people be creative.
I mean, if you keep going this way, by the time we are very old people and that have to tell our kids that may actually follow in our footsteps, the amount of steps that we're going to have to explain to them that we had to do in order to get things in engine, it's gonna be hilarious. Like you didn't have to actually just work on the engine. You had to go all through all this pain before you get to this thing. Emilio, go ahead.
I'm sending the link that I checked the other day. This guy Raul Cacciamani is just actually talking about Unreal, about all of the features in Control Rig, and at some point he's just talking about every single choice when you're animating something is not really a bad choice. That
That was a
really
great moment in that talk.
yeah.
Yes, worth
So
make sure everyone watch that. Yeah.
it doesn't matter what is your choice, because sometimes in animation, because you're relying on rigs and ways of doing things, solving animation, you need to make a choice, and that choice could be the wrong one, or could be the right one. That experience makes a lot of easy enough things, but having that kind of possibility of whatever you actually any decision in animation is not really a bad decision. That is everything to me, right? It's just not really about
Yeah.
how good or how bad is your rigging or your technical tools or whatever. It's about
You're
whatever
never
you can
stuck.
do,
Yeah.
you can really take it from there and then just try another way, but it's not destructive. And everything works according. And what Brother was saying, it's not going to break 15 frames later, or your
Mm,
beam value is not going to ruin the whole animation. Things like that, right? Just, that kind of getaway of the technical side just to, in order just to get a better final result.
nice one.
That's super nice.
Yeah,
I posted this on LinkedIn, and there was a moment in here where I was learning something, and I was like, I was looking to how to do that, and that was my technique from I tagged a bunch of people on LinkedIn, but it was like just a chain of how something I saw here was like, oh well, that ended up in Motion Builder and in Maya and in Blender, and it was like it was this thing that I figured out from reading a old game develop magazine, but it was just I think pass through keys in here is the same as like key lifting that I did in Motion Builder. That I read Davis Trepenis wrote a mail script for Rogue Squadron to like pick out specific keys for mocap instead of deleting keys, and just this whole thing. And I was like, yeah, it was just the progression of I want this feature always wherever I am, and it's in all of the tools because I just kept making that happen. And then I saw it appear in Unreal, and I'm like, oh, good. See, someone else knows it. But like, I'm glad I didn't have to worry about it. Someone showed me, and it was from that video. So it's an amazing video for anybody looking to animate and
And it's
learn
picking
it.
up a really nice examples of how to solve animations in
Yes,
complicated
yeah.
ways, just
mm,
to facilitate how you actually you're solving it, and illustrating in a really good way, right? It's obviously in Unreal, but it gives you a context as well about how complicated the things could be, and then how complicated it is just for us just to understand in animation how to deal with those things, right?
that's it. Yeah, a different way of approaching that actually
So,
is more
in
simplistic.
that regard, that future I think is just really promising, right?
Nice.
The more that you guys can really do all those complicated things, solutions for artists and animators, the better that everybody
That's
is
it.
gonna be, right?
I
And
love.
the market is growing, right?
Yeah, I love how like one question you can tell you guys are tech animators because just the question of like any tech that you excited, and we've been here for like the last 30 minutes. There's so much. I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
Amaresh was saying about that. I got my LinkedIn and X, Twitter, and all my social media stuff so well curated, and just following the right people for
yeah,
13
networking.
years. And this is such a source of awesomeness, right? I get
Yeah,
every single time I get posts of that really inspiring me. You can really be there forever just watching things and endless amount of
yeah,
information. There's a really good thing. You actually, maybe you can really have an account just to do your things as a person, but another one as a professional just to follow the right
Yeah.
people, and that's the way that actually you
Your
can really
stalking account.
you're
Just
yeah,
stalk
stalking
the right
account.
people.
yeah, I feel like it's talking. Yeah.
I think Amaresh, you have your hand up as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Like when you want to get excited about anything in life, you just have to have visibility on that thing. That there is a thing called ozone, there is a thing called control rig, there is a thing that you know about. If you don't know about it, then you'll never know about it basically. So that's why visibility is super important. And if you, that's why I said like you need to follow the right people to be able to see those posts.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the ozone demo like few years back with the girl with the glasses, and the deformation was unreal. I mean, it's super incredible to see the tech that we are pushing for real time solutions.
Mhm.
And when Brad mentioned that, I mean, we are close to that day when we'll be able to put ZBrush models directly into Unreal. And also with the new support for nanite skeletal meshes in Unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super excited about that because it's like one of those things that hey, everybody is getting so many tools for foliage, for like nanite meshes, for landscape, and all those fancy things. But we need something for the characters as well, and that's where tech like Ozone and tech like these nanite support for skeletal mesh is really pushing the boundaries to the next level, and that's where we'll see a lot of these like high fidelity characters in real time.
Nice.
And also something small, but I'm excited about it is UE gear. Since Jeremy joined Epic as a lead tech animator, he's working on the control rig nodes, and he is the original creator of M Gear. Like he started writing,
Yeah.
and now that Miguel and Jeremy can form that partnership
Yeah.
and do wonders. So that's why you can see a lot of power in UE gear because they both are writing code for the same thing on the like two ends of the spectrum or two ends of the pipeline, and that makes the unification more stronger. And that's why you see like UE gear can like export your control rigs, and you can use the same control rig as you would your usual one in Unreal, and you can just start animating with the control rig that you were using in Maya. So that's how seamless it is getting, and I'm super
Nice.
excited about that fact. Like it's a small thing because I mean technical animators are usually those people who enjoy building tech, but not so much of the commercial side of it, like promoting their tools.
Yeah.
So they'll hide in their shadows, like doing good for the world, but they won't like come out of their shadows saying that, oh, I did it. So yeah, that's basically tech anim.
Nice one. So Drew, we have, by the way, we have about 45 minutes or half an hour, depending, with the closing remarks as well. Thanks a lot, you guys, for being troopers. I appreciate it. We have quite a lot of questions. I think we're gonna have to leave questions on the table, unfortunately, because there's too many. The chat is kind of like I think people are enjoying it. You guys are very popular. I think we had about 50 people watching us at one point. So obviously, you're all is official, it's legends, as Alex said, right? So here's a question that actually Drew asked. Is there a story where your efforts changed the trajectory or a feature of a feature that was either on the cutting board or an unsolved problem where tech animation solved the issue? I feel like that's basically, you probably have stories for days on this, but maybe we can start with
Every day.
yeah, every day, right? Maybe we can start with you, Emilio. Go ahead.
Well, uncountable, especially in games, so games has been as well, is all constantly evolving. And even now, we're spending so much time on optimization, right?
Yeah.
I remember working on Fable 2 back in the day, Xbox 360. We didn't
Mm.
really have lots, no a single lot. And the game was 30 frames per second, and all fine.
So not even like like there was just at the
No a
mall.
single lot. I was rigging and skiing all the characters in the game, all of them, props, everything in the game that was actually moving. We went through me. No lots, no whatever. It was spending a lot of things there. So, you know, uh, every single time you actually dealing with runtime problems, right? Performance and everything like that. So, there's uncountable stories about, how you coming up with things, right? For me as well, that thing because I'm coming from the very beginning, right? Because, just Doom and then Quake, and
Hmm.
then I realized that wow, this is actually 3D, right? I remember playing Quake and just looking at
Oh
places.
yeah,
Was this possible? Why is it
yeah.
possible? And then
3D.
it's sitting in 3D. So
Yeah.
but I started just to use, a simple bones and skinning, and then you get the most out of that.
Hmm.
Even right now, I'm so proud when I have something that's actually driven by a few bones, but it's actually looking like a pixel quality, right? It's a kind of that kind of thing that because you understand how to use all those resources in a really basic level just to fake it, and it
Yeah.
just looks really awesome. So that's every single day for us, just to how to optimize things, how to run faster, and how to get the most out of the team as well. Because everybody's gonna work faster and nicer. So it's just tons of them, right?
Amazing. So I'm actually going to like pitch in here because I worked like obviously we haven't worked together yet, Clark, yet. Blah- But it's coming. But I work with Emilio and Amaresh, and for Emilio, I remember perfectly that we had a character called Rook in the game, and he had like this thing on his back. It was like this jacket that had lots of joints. He used to use joints to simulate animation in engine, and I remember perfectly that like we had a certain like with the game had to run perfectly, and all everybody's in awe because Emily kept adding bones in order to get the hood not to intersect with the underlying layer for things to move well. And there was a seam in between that was like hard and then soft. He was like, no, 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 this is not good enough. And he kept iterating. He was like adding more bones. And people were going to Emilio, but this is going to actually affect our memory. No, 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 leave it with me. And he would make wonders. And the characters, every character had lots of dangly things everywhere. Everybody was saying the animations are looking great, but we did kind of half of it, and the rest is just overlapping motion in engine. And it was mostly Emilio, and the game still ran amazingly. And everybody was asking Emilio, "How do you do it?" It's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It just works."
It's funny because for many years I was in a really big studio and I was pretty much the only guy as a rigger, right? And everything went through me.
Mm,
Characters and
everything.
enemies and NPCs and props and environment destruction, everything that moves, it needs to go through me. So I had to come up with simple things, simple solutions, just to put in the game and run perfectly at 30 frames per second at least. And I remember 2010. So I was working on Fable 3, and we got this kind of cinematic that was it was a house, and the house it was actually demolished. There
Mm,
was some kind of cannons shooting, and then there was some cannonballs falling on top of the house, and the whole house needs to be demolished, right? And so I was using Ray Fire in 3D Studio Max to simulate all the cracks and everything like that. I took the asset, I did that. I ended up with 700 bones, right? 700 bones. And I was just communicating to the engineers, program engine and everything like that about, this. And say, wow, what are you doing? This is never gonna run. And then was, I say, but what are you saying? How many characters you can really have in the screen at the same time in a combat situation? How many? 12, 15? Every single character of those back at the day was around 125 bones, right? My house is 7 characters, right? So I had to disguise, mask it in a way that I got away. So at the end, I had to divide the skeleton in 5 pieces with 100 bones and 150 each one, and then just that way I got away with the finish. Say, okay, I push it, and it was actually performance, and the cinematic was there, and no problem at all. It was something like that. But sometimes people are really, what are you doing? The amount of bones or the amount of vertices you are simulating on that cloth, or that angle beat. There's actually too many rigid bodies, but obviously, our experience as well is matters, and what you can really do or not most
yeah,
of the times. Sometimes you're guessing, but at that point of my life, in my professional life, I know what I can do or not, and it's just
that's
you
it.
take advantage of that. But obviously, you always sometimes the people are saying animation less is more. Sometimes that's actually it's true, right? But not all the time.
Not
But
all the time.
just that if you can really sort something out with one single bone, when you're gonna create more than one, right?
It's
Sometimes
amazing.
the elegance as well in the simplicity is a good thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is why I was so amazed by that example that I gave about you, because there's always this feeling in the studio, those because he was genuinely Emilio was the only one doing all the rigs and all the physics, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. And it was a machine, and he would. He would take care of everything, and
You
sometimes
know that my secret to be really fast and efficient or whatever is because I want to animate.
that's
So
it exactly.
you
I
know,
remember this.
I gotta deal with my lead.
Yeah,
So as soon as you're free
that's
with
it.
your technical skill tasks, you
Yeah,
can really go and just in the animation thing. So I was always there saying, I
I
can
get
really
to
do
animate
it.
now. That's true. That's exactly the deal that you have with
Yeah,
Lismi, right? Lismi was saying like, well, if you actually get all the characters out, you can get an animation in
yeah.
in,
At
in
some
here and
point,
there.
during all the kind of production, I was just sort of focusing on
Yeah,
technicalities, and then at some point, I had my place
your
of
moment to
just
shine.
animating things,
Absolutely.
and
You're
So
like,
cool.
I'm ready to animate, and then someone goes, "Oh, the rig's broken," and you're like, "Ah."
That's
oh, this,
exactly what used to happen. 100%. That's exactly what used to happen.
who did that?
She's like, no, then I'm about to finish the animation. It was such a laugh. Amaresh, do you have any examples of any stories? How you saved the day? I know of one. I will actually say it after you.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of days, and usually that's how tech anim day to day looks like. Like
Mm,
you're saving the day, one way or the other, and that's your job. So one thing that I remember is back in 2014-15, we were making a mobile, like a third-person multiplayer shooter game for mobile using Unreal. Back then, nobody was using Unreal for mobile, and even Epic said like, "You made a wrong decision." So we realized it too late. Like, hey guys, you could have said this earlier on a post that it's not good for mobile, but now we have done it. So we had like a 6v6 shooter, so there could be like 12 characters on screen at the same time, like shooting millions of bullets at the same time. And that way we didn't have, like, we just had one animator, that was my wife Sonali. And so I basically found a way to layer things up, and we didn't have like bunch of sample projects back then. Like Unreal just came out 4.0, and there was nothing, there was not even Fortnite back then. So we didn't have anything to look up to and learn from it, because nowadays there's Lyra, there is game animation sample that you can just break down and learn from it, like how they are using layering while still optimizing it well enough to run at 30 fps, 60 fps, whatever. So we had to like find different tricks, and I managed to make it good enough so that it ran at 40 fps, and I'm super proud of that.
nice.
And like many players played it, but we ran out of money to host the servers, so that's how the game died. And I mean, there are no regrets, but I learned a lot from that project, because that basically taught me like to take care of different aspects of the development pipeline and not just focus on your own thing, because you have to drive the whole team to like to be able to complete or to achieve the vision that you're looking for. And it can be anyone, like we were all starting back then, and I started in 2013. So it was like I just had 3 years of experience, nothing much, but I was always with that mindset that I'm not letting it go. I
Yeah.
will find a solution, and I still today have that approach that I will find a solution, because if it's humanly possible, I can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my take on it.
100%. 100%, Amaris. That's a great answer and a great story. What I was going to add as well is that I remember when we were working in Funcom on Dune Awakening, there was a moment that I think was either the artists or the coders came to us and they said that things were like actually the memory was not running so well. And they didn't know exactly what it was. And the doors were not working properly. And we had these doors that basically had like these little slivers. They would actually go and they were like individually animate. And every single one of those slivers was actually joints. And it
And
had
also had physics bodies.
exactly. So, so I asked Amaresh, do you mind looking into this? Because obviously, obviously the doors are not working so well. So let me know. Amaresh almost had a heart attack. He was like, no wonder this is actually taking so much memory. So then Amaresh did work his magic, and at that point he just had started, and I was trying to sell. I was trying to basically trying to make the studio understand the importance of a tech animator, which a lot of the times my job as animation director has become that of like you need a tech animator because they don't have one. They don't think they need one, or they don't understand why they need one. So you have to basically explain why this person is needed in the studio and what they do in the studio and why they're valuable. So it was around that time that Amaresh kind of just solved it in like a day. It was or a few days, just like done. And then the game was running much better. It's like, what? Oh, this guy is great. So then they started asking him a bunch of stuff. Can you optimize this? Can you optimize this? Everything.
And that's how I ended up animating and rigging all the fabricators indoors.
That's it.
Yeah, that
All the
backfire
fabricators.
sometimes. You know, you do it
Yeah,
once and then boom,
That's
yeah,
it.
all the way.
it's your responsibility now.
Yeah, exactly. Now you deal with it.
And one more thing that reminds me, like talking about fabricators in the game, is simple is gold, and that's where I found the most simplest solution because Ninite wasn't supported back then for skeletal meshes, and you could not animate like with heavy meshes, and that was causing a lot of performance issues. So I found a solution like, hey, let's do a proxy rig setup, and we can have all the fabricator pieces as static meshes, and that way because this modeling team were continuously modifying their assets on the go, and I was like, we don't have that much time to like go through each time you update this. So I want to make this pipeline independent of tech animators once and for all. So I did that proxy rig, and I told them like, anytime you want to update a mesh, go ahead and do that. You want to update material, go ahead and do that. You won't need tech animators in this pipeline at least. So that's how we like, okay, our job is done. Now all the fabricators and everything is running fine, and you can just keep on updating.
And
Unless you
The
like
ultimate,
go crazy and
yeah.
add more pieces to it, that's when you need to re-rig it.
exactly.
So simple is good enough.
Simple is good enough. Exactly. Which is exactly.
Removing yourself from being needed is the goal.
Yeah.
And what about you, Brad? Do you have any stories?
Yeah, there's a one or two, you know.
I can
There's
imagine.
been a few where it's like something so simple that like it wasn't necessarily unsolvable, but like literally just asking the right question unlocked, saved the animation team like weeks of watching Maya bake back and forth and doing something, and just not accepting that this is how it's supposed to be, that this is a problem, and then going and talking to the right person about it. It's like a literally the flag in the auto rig tool was just not set correctly, and like, but they were just happy to watch and watch Maya cook keyframes constantly. So
Yeah.
there's just like knowing when to ask a question or to say that there's a problem instead of just going, I guess this is how it works. So
Yeah.
there's like a million of those kind of things. But I think like in back before there were auto rigging stuff, and in the early days of Acclaim, when the engine team was like just mad at any animator making whatever, my friend and I, we started new projects, the Red Star and 100 Bullets, which were comic book adaptions, and we just basically decided we were going to make a shared rigging system, and we just did, and we did it outside of the schedule, and we were still supposed to be animating, and by doing that, we could give consistent rigs to engineering, and then they'd actually implement features for us instead of just sending broken stuff back all the time. And we got cloth sim in, even on like PlayStation 2, where it was like because we could give them consistent output, and we created tools to use vertex colors to basically create cloth weight animation to feed into our custom engine, and just choosing to do the thing even when we got zero support for it was one of the things. One of the game designers, the level artists, had built a bunch of games levels based on the specs, and then the hardware came out, and so we made a script that basically walked the entire level based on the camera moves the designers gave us, and culled the level so that we could actually fit it in memory. It selected everything outside the Frustrum Plus a range of polys and deleted it so that we could actually like fit it in view.
Wow.
There was another.
Foveated-
Yeah,
foveated
it just
thing.
removed things before
Yeah.
LED stuff. Yeah, and it was fixed camera, but it's still just too much stuff.
Amazing.
There was a game that they literally couldn't load the levels in Max because they were out of memory. Like the final level was so big you couldn't assemble it. So I helped build a tool that would let them like chop the pieces and reassemble them and connect and output the final level, because you couldn't open any one file in one version of Max at the time. There's a, and then just like helping publicly. I I went to help train the EA Vancouver studio on Motion Builder, and the mocap department. I got to the mocap department and they just said, "Well, we don't really have any questions. We just wanted to say thanks for all the public posts you had answered." Every time we have a question, we search and find your name and your answer. And I was like, "Oh,
We
well,
already
you're
know
welcome."
everything.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought that was good. Like, again, just trying to share actual solutions instead of just answer questions with like, I don't know, but giving back to the community. I just thought that was such a funny. I'm like, oh no, what are they going to ask? They're like, oh, nothing. You already answered it online for us. We just wanted to say thanks. So, there's stuff like that you never know what impact you're going to make on people. But a few of those tools definitely, like, it just won't open or doesn't fit or it won't work, or we've got 600-700 animations and they're too much memory, and you start learning how to compress things or use Butterworth filters that you then get into Motion Builder and then into Blender and into other things, and you're like, oh, these tools are helpful, but it's small little drops, and you hope that it continues out. So
Yeah, makes sense.
a
Makes complete
few stories.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, exactly. What, Emilio?
I think, well, related to that, you know, I think I'm speaking for all of us. The most grateful feeling I have is when I'm helping people that way.
Hmm.
When I'm just going somewhere, helping with someone with a problem, and not because I know more and I'm more clever or anything like that. It's because I have that.
We've suffered.
Yeah, when you're going there, say, well, what I've done, there's something wrong. But helping that people, solving that problem, and going back to your place, say, okay, all fine. We're looking forward for the next one because there's going to be a next one. That's just the most grateful thing that you can really find in this job, right? That keeps me as well. Even if I really want to be an animator 100%, and still got this kind of other maybe 40% of myself that I really want just to do all the technical things. So that's actually how can I define myself, in that regard. All those little things, solving the problems and talking to someone, and that moment of happiness and magic that you save the day. It's not really. Sometimes I don't really like that because it feels like a little bit,
But
I'm
it's
not
true
really
though.
saving it, right? I just helping, right? And
Yeah,
that's
like I
actually, that feedback is just keeps me going anyway, right?
Yeah, no, but you guys do though. Like you guys should wear capes in the office, 100%. It's yeah, I think it's overdue because it's really like for us animators at least. This is why, like to me, the first tech animator that I saw, like, it's like, man, these people are amazing. It was definitely Mark Jackson. That to this day he's a legend to me, but it's because I never thought of the tech animator position before.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start animating, and then you have problems, and then you start, like, things get broken, or you need a new tool or a new thing, or there's a new project, and the rig breaks, or you need a new feature. And then you kind of go to this person, and this person does something like a mechanic, and then he comes back to you and it's like, here it is, it's done, you can now work again. You're like, oh, this is so much better now. And it's crazy though, because I feel like animators get praised a lot, but the tech animators, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's at Pixar, DreamWorks, games, film, VFX, you guys kind of like empower us to then be able to do that job, and to make sure that that technical layer is invisible enough that we can basically just focus on the art side of things. So hence why we're doing this chat with all of you, so people understand how much of a superhero you guys are. So it's really, really, really cool. I have a last question that I think is going to take us to the end, which is the elephant in the room, which is AI. Everybody is talking about AI. Everybody's going, he's going to take my job, or he's going to improve my job, or I love it, or I hate it, or whatever. You guys are obviously excited about tech coming up. You didn't mention AI at any point, right? Even though there's a lot of implied AI in some tools. But how do you feel about AI in tech animation? And I'll maybe go to you first, Brad.
Yeah. So I just I got back from, well, I think overall I get the same feeling around the fear about AI as I saw around early motion capture stuff, where it was like but even not just mocap, but digital versus traditional too, right? There's always fear around new stuff. I think the difference is the accessibility and the kind of disregard for what fueled a lot of the AI stuff, which was basically, we took it, finders keepers, too bad, it's too late, we have it, and now anyone can use it. And that was like not a super great messaging from the companies making AI.
Yeah.
On the flip side, like the actual technology is not necessarily a problem. And I've, full disclosure, I've worked with the Radical AI team as a consultant and helped with their motion capture, video to motion capture system for a long time. And I think there's a ton of technology that we see kind of mislabeled AI, but it's also just, computer vision or, souped up automation, or for animators, like the ML solving and local training for the new Unreal Face animator, right? Like there's a lot of tools that are using AI technology or, better automation to make things accessible and usable that we wouldn't have had without spending a huge amount of money or trying to find one animator that was good at something, or the tech artist is busy and you need one script that you can just ask AI to write for you. There's a bunch of things that, if again, back to like, did you learn the core of rigging and then use auto rigger, or did you just use auto riggers? If you are creative and you have control over your tools, and Jason Schleifer at Grip Tape, Jason was an animator and Weta and all, like rigger and all the stuff, but like he and his the creative team at Grip Tape are using AI to produce things that are trained on their own data, right? If you're, you talked about Dune, my old coworker and concept artist for Dune, David Levy, he said AI let him feel like he was creative again because he wasn't just being used as a tool by the studio. So, there's it is some personal empowerment that lets you feel like you have control, but it's also just like every other technology. It's easy to be abused. It shows up everywhere when you don't want it. And so I think that like, that's the difference. It feels like there's just it's been forced on people instead of something exciting to get to use. And, I think that's why it gets such a negative backlash, but it's not going anywhere now. It's like trying to it's like Apple, figuring out how to monetize music after Napster was like, oh, music's free. And it's like, well, you still have to pay somebody to make music, right? Like it's going to come back. It's just like mocap, every producer wants the cheapest, fastest solution. And, mocap didn't do that. It leveled the playing field. It put all the work at the beginning of the project instead of letting one animator slave away to get to the end and try to get like, well, that guy's our best one, so he's going to burn out because he's the only one able to do these. So, I'm optimistic on it leveling out and being productive and useful. I just think that it's unfortunately there's going to be a bunch of pain and misunderstanding and also just abuse from the tech companies that have made it really, really distasteful right out of the gate. So
completely great answer.
But I've seen it empower people. Like, there's just there's animators. What I was going to say at the beginning is I just was at a workshop for the Animali project in Czech Republic and teaching animation for Maya, Unreal, and Blender, and we were all looking at projects and tools, and I was like, well, this is a very simple tool, and we could spend 4 days figuring out how to write it, and you don't want to learn how to code, so let's just break the problem down and give it to ChatGPT, and it gave them very simple scripts, and it was just a very easy way to get a non-technical animator less RSI because they don't have to click 14 buttons. They can get just one tool done, and they would have not bothered a programmer. They wouldn't have tried it themselves before. So it's, there's just like anything, it can expand. Photography can become a job now that there are cameras. It creates opportunities, but it also can be wielded poorly and misunderstood and abused. So you just have to be cognizant of the negatives and control your art. Know the basics and be a good decision maker.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you, Amaresh, how do you feel about it?
I mean, very well said, Brad. So I totally agree with that. And with every technology, like we're still trying to figure out how to do mocap at an indie budget. Because yeah, mocap is a big thing, changed, revolutionary, changed a lot of things for AAA, but not so much for the indies. And we are still trying to figure out, like, apart from accents, what comes next? Rococo and all these different suits, perception neuron comes to mind, and they're still trying to figure out like how to get rid of that magnetic interference, right? And we are not getting good data when we move a lot. So I mean, mocap has been there for quite a while, and we are still like looking out for good solutions that are efficient and ready to use in production.
Mm.
And that being said, I see AI is a tool that can empower us just like any other tool. And going back to the tech anime example, like you have to learn the basics first, because AI can throw a lot of random things at you. It's just a curious kid that knows everything, right? And when you ask it a specific question, it can just blabber a lot of things at you, and then you should know how to filter it, because
Love
that's
that.
how I interact with AI. And I mean, when you make the barrier to entry so low for any tech, then it is prone to getting misused, and that's similar for metahumans or any tech that Epic also provides, right?
Mm.
And that's why Epic gets criticism, because their characters are not being used in a way they intended it for to be.
Mhm.
So that's where I think, if you put a good tool in an experienced person's hand, they will make good use of it. Whereas there's other side to the story as well, and we know what's happening with the Pixar. Miyazaki's art, like Instagram posts all over social media. I mean, yeah, you can only do so much. So that's why you need to be responsible, and you need to drive like a good culture going forward, because this is just a trend and it'll pass. But by the time AI actually comes into our life or becomes a part of our pipelines, we need to start being responsible from now on, so that we can lead the future in the right direction that we want it to be. Otherwise, if we just like get frustrated, we comment on those posts saying that I hate AI, that's not the solution to the problem, because that's not even the problem. It's the person who's doing it. It's not the tech, because tech is never wrong. It's who uses it.
Yeah.
So that's where I think, I mean, even with motion capture, a lot of these tech, Move AI, Motorica, they're trying to solve a good problem, where they are trying to make motion capture affordable for indies, whereas you can generate a lot of motion capture data, because you don't have to have that experience of directing a mocap to be able to generate those dance card animations
Mhm.
that you need for motion matching. But you can just like feed in like a text prompt in an AI machine. And since AI is a curious kid, as we all know, so it knows how to do like a zombie walk, or so it assumes that, hey, I think you want this.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to tell it like, hey, I don't want this. I want a different candy. Can you bring that to me? And that's when you have to keep iterating till you get the right candy that you want from
Mhm.
AI. And I think that's where we need to be very responsible, and that's all I can say. Because I use AI very responsibly, rather than me trying to go into production saying that why do we need concept art? Because I can just generate concept art for you. You can pay me 20, like half of it what you are paying them. I can generate concept for you.
Mm.
Is that right? So that's me being irresponsible, and like not being empathetic to the concept artist, and not respecting their craft.
Mm.
That's where, I mean, people can say all they want that AI will replace us, AI will take over animation, blah blah blah. They were saying the same thing for mocap, as Brad mentioned, but we are still cleaning up mocap data. We're still trying to figure out a good pipeline that, hey, there's bunch of work to be done after we recorded a session.
Yep.
And I mean, you are an animator with so much experience
Mm.
working with mocap. You know
Uh,
more than me that how much work it goes into just making it look like mocap did the magic. But
Absolutely.
there's an hardworking animator in
Yeah.
the middle who's
Yeah.
doing all that great job. Because if you
Unless,
look at raw mocap data, it's
yeah, it's horrible. Unless you ask Andy Serkis, If you ask him, then obviously
Yeah,
nothing happens between
you
his
know,
performance and then the movie. Like it's
that's
one to
right.
That's
one.
That's right.
exactly like some of the
Digital
Hollywood
makeup, you
celebrities
know.
saying that
Yep,
we use practical effects
that's it. Exactly.
for Top Gun.
Yeah, nice one. Emilio.
Just
So
to be, just to be
be,
quick, just to, just to reinforce what my
before
colleague.
you go, we have
Yeah,
to actually share this post here.
who's the person? Who's the person?
I love that they Gone called you Emiliano Serrano.
Emiliano. Emiliano. Maybe you used to call me Emiliano at some point as well, right? So I leave it just just reinforcing what the Amaresh and brother saying. It's just a responsibility how to use it. And in my case, I would like just to put any of those guys that actually saying that AI is going to replace us somehow, or concept artists or animators or engineers or whatever. Just to come with me one day to the studio. I will show you how the AI
Yep.
is going to do what I'm doing.
Yep.
Especially,
Yep.
obviously the charming and everything, everything that is just a bonus. But it's just I think the fear and everything is to the unknown. At the moment everything is a big boom things, and everybody's just really panicking and whatever. I think it's an awesome tool, and it's empowering me like crazy,
Absolutely.
crazy, right?
Same.
As
Yeah.
I'm not as technical as I should be,
Mhm.
let's say. It just gives me the power just to have my mind and trigger it and
Mhm.
say, okay, I need this. And I don't know how to do it technically because I know I don't have the 100% skills to that. So it gives me that possibility, right? And so all of a sudden, I can really do things that I couldn't do before.
Mhm.
Or it's just speeding up my workflows and solving my problems. So it's a tool as any other tool, right? Like photography, motion capture is the end of things. Come on, it's just I think what Brady was saying sometimes is mislabeled,
Mhm.
and and I think some people as well, there's some kind of clickbait about, oh yeah, this is AI, when it's not really AI, it's something else. And
Right.
you know motion matching, machine learning, all those things are actually, all the neural things and everything like that, that's been there forever,
That's
right?
true.
For a really
Yeah,
long time,
before AI.
in papers and things like that. Now everything becomes a little more easier because, got more computation,
Mhm.
power and everything like that. But just is really really awesome tools. And the thing that you can really do with machine learning, there's no way that you can really do it in a normal way, right?
Mhm.
We're
Right.
using things in this game that we're creating right now with Houdini and procedural things in machine learning, how to do certain things that's just mind blowing. How
Mhm.
can you do that without all those things? Houdini is just all the training with the ML deformer, all those things, actually learning how to do it and reproducing in runtime. That is just where the future is anyway.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Cascadeur, yeah, I forgot to say that.
Cascador as well. Yep.
I'm not really sure about the future, but it's actually taking a lot of really good stuff. And
Yeah.
one of them as well, this kind of prediction of posing, right? That's a
Exactly.
good thing, right?
That's
I,
great.
I remember sometimes it's actually on your way as an animator, you don't really want that, but you see, you actually moving it, it's actually really good, right? So,
Yeah.
just predicting what your poses should be,
Yeah.
but without telling you where to go, right? You're using your
Exactly.
skills and your artist skills just to put it there. But, you don't really need just to move, fingers one by one, right? So you have that kind of prediction is actually learning from by example.
Yeah, he's helping you more than
Yeah,
anything.
what happened? Yeah. So,
Exactly.
don't fear. I know I'm not afraid of all those changes, right? I think you have to really embrace the way this is moving, and then as Amaresh and Brad is saying, you need to be responsible how to use it. That means
Completely.
at some point everything needs to be aligned into the right way of using these technologies and using it right. And it will be a
Absolutely.
lot of things or whatever, but this is really really exciting about it, and I'm using it every day,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
absolutely.
colleagues they can tell you, I
Same.
think it makes me happy and it made me happy because you can move. All of a sudden, you have more time for doing important things,
Yep.
which is what it matters, and then the stupid things like the auto rig. You don't really want to
Yeah,
create the bond, right? The authority is doing this for you.
that's right.
So you're using that tool just to get a shortcut. But the shortcut is because you already know it, but you're taking
Yeah,
advantage of that. And then
That's
you
it.
have time for the really important things that actually dedicating to something that's actually really important instead just, just repeated tasks or anything like that. So yeah,
you
Nice
hear
one.
him. He's like AI is going to let me animate. It's going to get me back to animating, and it's
yeah,
that's the
yeah, yeah.
trick. It's the illusion.
Yeah.
You're never going to animate.
Yeah, and in Maya, sometimes you're choosing the wrong way, and then, maybe you need that kind of extra tool that's actually solving that problem in that specific moment.
In Python, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 5 minutes left. Amaresh, I think you had like something to say as well, right?
Yeah, I'll just be very quick because I just had like a very good example of using AI responsibly,
Yeah.
and a good implementation of that tech is Google search, because we all know how to search in Google, right?
Hmm.
But in the previous days before AI, we had to like, okay, I want to do something in Maya using Python. How do I do that? And I just have to go through each and every website on my own and then find what's good or what works, because I know how to do it, but then I have to go through all of that. That's just a waste of time. And how AI empowers you is basically gives you a summary and gives you a link that this is the source. So if you're more interested in what I'm suggesting, then go there, figure it
Yeah,
out yourself. And that's the best use of AI, and that's how you need to look at it, even for animation or any other application.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
100%. It's very, very useful. But yeah, like so we thanks a lot for making it, fellas. I appreciate you guys spending 3 hours. I feel like the time flew by. If this was a lot of fun to hear all the experience coming together and all that stuff. And I normally like to close this with like last words. And I'm kind of wondering if you guys have anything to say for all the potential tech animators of the future that may be watching this or want inspiration before we leave. So maybe we can start with Brad at first.
sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Harvey. It's been an awesome time to talk to everybody, and the questions have been amazing. So I think just continue to be curious, and I think the thing that there was a while where I felt like I don't I'm starting to lose some of the passion. You get burned out, or
Mm,
even just you have two modes. You've been doing it a while. You start to go, what's I don't know what to do, and then you also have the new person coming in being overwhelmed. And I think continue to go back to the source of like learn about light or learn about cinematography or tech art and animation. When you see a shader, you're like, oh, I want to make car paint. Well, go to a car show and take photos and study the real thing and use that as inspiration to fuel what questions you ask ChatGPT or Google search, and then pick one of those things. And that way you can re-inspire yourself, or you can narrow your focus when you're trying to learn at the beginning.
perfect.
And those are the things that you look to, like the people that have had the longest careers, and they are constantly re-inspiring themselves based on you know good research and things that make exciting discoveries for yourself. And that's how I continue to try to do it for myself, and focus on learning and not getting overwhelmed by too many YouTube tutorials or new
Tutorial.
features in Unreal or whatever. So yeah, that's what I'd say, is just stay curious and ask good questions and share what you find,
Yeah,
and that's it.
perfect. Nice one. Wise words. So maybe Amaresh, you have your hand up. Do you want to? You have any?
Oh, no, it's from the previous
Oh,
thing.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll still go.
Yeah.
Yeah, one suggestion that I would give to anyone is just be curious, keep that child inside of you going, so that you don't lose that passion, or like why you started this thing in the first place. So if you lose that somewhere in between, then try to step back a bit, maybe like between jobs, because there's a lot of that thing going around in the industry.
Mm,
Just take a step back, think, reflect, like what went wrong, because it's not always you who's on, like who did something wrong. It might be something else. So that's where reflect on it, think about it, then move forward. And the idea is to keep moving forward and keep being curious, because there's
mm,
so much to learn every day. There's a new thing, and like when you I'm so lucky to be here just because I know you, Harvey, and I got in touch with Emilio. Now I know Brad, but like sitting amongst you is such a honor for me personally, because when compared to you guys, I have no experience at all, right? And that's when, I mean, there's so much to learn from you guys. I mean, from everyone else posting for free on LinkedIn, Twitter, and sharing those tools and tips and tricks. So just be curious, go for it, and don't be scared to try new things. But be careful while trying out new things and do your research and go into the depth of it. Not try, don't go for the width of it. So don't try to cover everything in the pipeline, but be an expert in one single thing.
Mhm.
That will teach you a lot of things.
Yeah,
Amazing, amazing. Very wise words as well. Finally, Emilia, you need to actually kind of like match this quality and knowledge.
impossible. Absolutely impossible. Just I leave it, what they're saying, just to what it keeps me going is just this is an endless road, right? Just never, you never learn enough. And
Mhm.
I think what keep us here as well is just that hunger of learning more, right? And that's the key for me. I think you say something about, you got exposed about people leaving the industry, right? At
Mhm.
some point.
Yep.
You know, nothing bad about it. I never really been in a really burnout situation myself. Maybe because just I just kind of feeding back into myself with my personal projects and everything like that. But just you know, keep yourself learning. Go back to the basics. Relearn that again. I'm just doing a painting lighting class at the moment. And just totally out of my comfort zone.
Perfect.
Those are, all those things, just keeps you growing and keeps you curious and just do the things and whatever, trying to find solutions. Not only as a technical animator, as as a person, right? Just every single time in your life is about solving situations, right?
Mhm.
When you're going to the bank or you're going to buy your groceries or whatever, it's always a situation there, right? So just technical animation is not really anything different from anything else. It's just a little more like narrow into skills and things like that. But yeah, it's just it's just being. I don't know. It just depends on how you are, but that kind of passion, that creativeness that I have inside myself, just carry encourages me just to go and move forward and just do more and do more. And sometimes it's a little bit a problem because I'm just becoming a victim of myself because I want to do more and I want to do more and I want to do another rig and I want to do another animation and and just when at some point it's actually be the best that you can.
That's
And
it.
ourselves, I consider myself and you guys, you helping others and you're actually solve problems solvers and is everything about others as well. And that's actually as well the way you are and the way actually you're actually happy with yourself and how everything just get that kind of balance and equilibrium and you carry on and you're always happy even in the darkest hours you're still happy.
Perfect. Really, really cool. Definitely matched. Amaresh, you had something?
One last thing to sum it
Sure.
all
Go
up
ahead.
is there's a very good dialogue in Pinocchio, the stop motion film by Guillermo del Toro.
Mhm.
So super amazing movie, and it has that dialogue that always try to do your best, and that's the best you can do. So that basically sums it up. And with any craft, any like field, and if you can do that, you're good to go.
Epic, epic, good wise words, 100%. And thanks to the chats for all the awesome questions. And we definitely need to kind of bring Mark Jackson next time, Mikel Campos, which I haven't met yet, and I need to meet.
Oh, he's
He's missing.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Yes.
so somebody said like the only person missing it was Mikel Campos. So we need
Yeah, yeah. Mark
he,
and
he, know, he
Mikael,
knows
that's for
about it.
sure.
Mark and
Yeah.
Mikel, 100%.
Yeah.
And then, well, like, thank you, Drew, once again for being part of the chat. Sonali, thanks so much for taking the time as well to watch us as well. We also have Nathan as well saying thank you so much for this insightful talk. Joel, cool insights. Alex as well, and Carlos. Carlos apparently spending more time watching the streams than playing video games, so definitely a compliment, Carlos.
That's a good thing.
That's really cool. Carlos also asks if it can be your Padawan, Emilio.
Of course. There's only room for one more.
Done. And yeah, thanks to you to you three for actually making it here and for the amazing chat and taking the time. 3 hours is a long time, so definitely take have a great rest of your day. And I wish you all the best, and hopefully we can do this
Yeah.
again sometime soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Patrick,
much.
for
No
Bye,
problem.
guys.
Thanks
Yeah.
a
You
lot.
guys.
a pleasure,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Have a great day.
Have a good
Bye.
day. Cheers. Bye bye.